Chapter 1241. On the second day back, Chun Zhao went to hell. This time, it was the handsome guy who summoned him. The magic tide was about to arrive. Of course, it was Chun Zhao's suggestion. It was easy for the handsome guy to summon Chun Zhao. For example, Beelzebub Zophi had to summon Chun Zhao with a magic seal and a token from Chun Zhao. The handsome guy took the token and dragged Chun Zhao to hell. The handsome guy summoned Chun Zhao twice, both times in different places. Handsome, don't you have your own territory? Right now, Chun Zhao and the handsome guy were sitting in a Porsche 918 sports car. Chun Zhao had specially brought this car to hell. However, the two sports cars were hovering in the air. The entire hell is mine. Why do I need a territory? It's different. I mean, like a palace. Yes, but one of my clones is sleeping in the palace. Do you have a lot of clones? No, I only have that one. It's in Pantmaninen. Chun Zhao had heard of Pantmaninen. According to legends, it was the center of hell and also Satan's palace. It was also built by Mammon, the king of greed. Pantmaninen also stored all the wealth Mammon had accumulated for Satan. Why do you have to leave a clone there? Because there are always ignorant people who try to covet my treasures. Don't you have subordinates watching for you? Yes, but even my subordinates can't resist my treasures, so I chased all of them out of Pantmaninen. Chun Zhao muttered inwardly. The handsome guy's treasures probably weren't ordinary ones. If you want to go, I can take you there. Forget it. I'm a very vulgar person. I never challenge my desires. Chun Zhao had always been a very worldly person. If there was some treasure that could make demons lose their minds, then he probably wouldn't be able to control himself. Just then, a blue curtain of light extended toward them from the end of the sky. The blue light was dazzling, but Chun Zhao could feel its vastness and surging. Chun Zhao saw a demon fly up from below. This demon was very powerful. At least, he was more powerful than Chun Zhao. Much more powerful. When he saw Chun Zhao and the handsome young man, he immediately attacked. The handsome young man simply turned his head and glanced at the devil. The demon screamed and fell from the sky. At this time, more demons rose from the forest below. Some demons were hostile to the flying Porsches. However, no demons attacked the Porsche again. After all, they had seen it in the forest. One of their strongest existences was struck down by the owner of this strange thing. There were more demons, but their attention wasn't on Chun Zhao and the handsome guy. They were also flying forward, flying towards the blue screen of light. What is this? Magic tide. The handsome boy had one hand on the door and the other on the steering wheel. At this time, the blue curtain of light had already spread over. Chun Zhao immediately felt the dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth fill his small world. As the blue curtain of light spread, more and more evil demons rose into the air. Although there were occasional fights, most of the demons were moving in the opposite direction of the blue curtain of light. In the same direction as the sports car, they were also heading in the direction of the blue curtain of light. A large number of demons on the ground were also moving in that direction. Most of the demons on the ground were weaker or couldn't fly. Where are we going? The closer the magic tide is to the source, the denser the elements are. Can't you take me to the source directly? Chun Zhao asked. Or can't you even get close to the source? I can go, but you can't. Just then, Chun Zhao realized that some demons were already falling behind. Like a boat sailing against the current, they were instantly swept away by the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Chun Zhao could already feel the pressure. If he flew on his own, he would probably be sent flying before long. But now, the handsome guy was driving him. He didn't need to think about how far he could go. He only needed to think about how much spiritual chi he could withstand. This was similar to the process of diving into deep water, similar to water pressure. But so far, he could still withstand the pressure of the spiritual chi rather easily. Every 13 years, the magic tide sweeps through the entire hell. Every demon has to go against the flow of the magic source. Isn't it the most convenient for demons who live near the magic source? The handsome young man shook his head. Every mana tide, the location of the mana source is different, and the location of the mana source is often littered with corpses. This is because the mana source is a place with the densest elemental energy. Even great lords can't withstand it, so the number of casualties is very high. In Hell, it's not uncommon to see countries destroyed because of the mana source. Destroyed countries? Chun Zhao exclaimed. Is there no way to prevent it? Yes, I can. I know where the magic source is, but why should I save them? Fine. He couldn't use the moral standards of the world to ask a demon king. What's the reason for the magic tide? Chun Zhao wasn't a researcher, but he was still quite interested in this. The environment, the handsome guy said. Don't landslides, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions happen in the human world too? It's the same for the magic tide. It's a 13-year cycle. The magic tide should be a good thing for most demons, unless the magic source appears next to you. It's not entirely a good thing. Some old demons will die suddenly because of it. Chun Zhao more or less understood why the handsome guy had summoned him to hell. When the spiritual chi of heaven and earth reached a certain level, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth would constantly pour into the body like a force-fed duck. The spiritual chi didn't turn into magic directly. Instead, it stayed in the body temporarily. Chun Zhao didn't need to absorb it at all. Techniques or books were useless now. He just gave up resisting and converted it. Your magic isn't the main thing. I can take you deeper and let your body receive the impact of the elements directly. As long as I don't die, it's up to you. The deeper he went, the stronger the pressure was. Even if Chun Zhao went thousands of meters under the sea, he wouldn't feel this much pressure. Chun Zhao could feel his bones changing shape. Even his skin had changed shape. Chapter 1242. Yes, Chun Zhao was adapting to the feeling brought by the pressure. Chun Zhao's bones, skin, and flesh were all changing rapidly. Ever since Chun Zhao absorbed the golden key, he had been changing constantly. Not on the outside, but on the inside. Sometimes, Chun Zhao even doubted if he was still human inside. Of course, Chun Zhao did a checkup too. The results from the blood sample and DNA analysis were satisfactory. At least Chun Zhao still retained his human characteristics. Many demons had the ability to quickly adapt to the environment. However, this ability of a demon was mostly obtained through changing their form. A thought suddenly popped up in Chun Zhao's mind. It was a completely groundless thought. It was like something he should have known. The ability to adjust the strength of the pressure. He could fill his skin with magic and obtain stronger resistance to pressure. Chun Zhao thought of a possibility. His body's ability to adapt to pressure had evolved to the extreme. Therefore, he could no longer evolve through transformation, so he changed to another method. That was to provide a better solution through knowledge. Every species had an upper limit to their abilities, also known as the ceiling. For example, the world records of athletes were actually the ceiling. Under normal circumstances, humans couldn't compete with carnivorous animals in speed, strength, or reaction time. But in some situations, humans could do it. It was through skills. Actually, using tools and inventing machines were also a type of skill. Of course, Chun Zhao didn't walk the path of technology. This knowledge seemed to be innate. Chun Zhao completely understood and grasped this knowledge. Chun Zhao tried to send magic into his skin. This was very complicated, but Chun Zhao could do it easily, as if he had muscle memory. Can you continue? The handsome guy asked. Yes, just a bit more. Chun Zhao felt that he still had plenty of magic. This skin-resistant skill didn't seem to have reached its limit. The closer he got to the source of magic, the greater the pressure. The handsome guy didn't react at all. There was no comparison. They weren't even on the same level. No, they weren't even creatures of the same dimension. The handsome guy moved forward several times. Each time, he would carefully ask Chun Zhao if he could still take the pressure. Finally, Chun Zhao felt that the pressure he could withstand had reached its limit. The handsome young man also stopped moving forward. In this place, the mana conversion system in Chun Zhao's body was not activated by the Qingyi manual. Instead, it passively allowed the external spiritual energy to propel it forward. At this time, no matter what cultivation method he used, it would not be faster than external power. Chun Zhao was cultivating passively. This couldn't even be considered cultivation. It It was just watching his mana grow bit by bit. Chun Zhao's body was like a pond. The cultivation technique was equivalent to a water pump. When cultivating, the water pump would be activated and the water would be pumped into the pond. However, the current situation was that the water pressure was too high. The water was directly pumped into the pond, and the pump did not need to be activated at all. Of course, Chun Zhao's body was still a rather large pond. Therefore, even if his cultivation speed doubled, it was still a drop in the bucket compared to his own mana source. If he could maintain this state for more than 10 days, his mana source would probably double. But Chun Zhao clearly didn't have that much time. Even if the handsome guy summoned him, he couldn't change the rules. Chun Zhao only had 24 disappearances. Just then, Chun Zhao saw a huge demon flying to the front. The handsome guy frowned and pointed. The demon instantly fell from the sky. Chun Zhao glanced at the handsome guy, not understanding what he was doing. I don't like strangers running in front of me. It's an eyesore. Fine, you're a demon king. How long will the mana tide last? A few days. 1,000 years ago, were humans communicating with hell very frequently? Chun Zhao asked curiously. Yes, there were indeed many humans communicating with hell back then. Then why did it disappear later? The rules. The rules changed. Demons affected the human world and even affected the progress of the human world, so the rules gradually changed. Then who made the rules? Gods? No, you should have come into contact with the alien god, right? Do you think that counts as a god? Chun Zhao shook his head. Alien god? He'd beaten up the alien god like a dog. Chun Zhao didn't think that gods were useless. What about the gods in your eyes? I've never seen a god. I was born from the rules, just like my other brothers and sisters. Are you talking about heaven's brothers and sisters or hell's? Both, the handsome guy said. So we can't break the rules. Am I hallucinating? Your hair seems to be growing longer. Because my magic power is growing too, the handsome guy said. Although this growth is meaningless to me. Will the growth of magic power make your hair grow longer? A small spell. My magic power is too large, so I use my hair to store magic power, and then, as the handsome boy spoke, his hair suddenly shortened again. Then I send magic power into my magic source. You can try this small spell. It can speed up the conversion of magic power and elements. Chun Zhao was interested and started asking the handsome guy for advice. However, Chun Zhao didn't learn this spell because it could speed up cultivation. It was because it was interesting. The handsome guy imparted the spell to Chun Zhao without hesitation. It was indeed a simple spell, but it wasn't. However, when Chun Zhao's hair reached his waist, he took a look in the mirror and smashed it. So ugly. Chun Zhao directly sent the magic power into his mana source. He would never use this spell again. It was so fucking ugly. Chun Zhao must be crazy to want to grow his hair long. He didn't have a handsome guy's unparalleled beauty. The length of his hair had a different beauty to him. Chun Zhao only had one conclusion. Long hair really wasn't suitable for him. Actually, if you don't like long hair, you can try body hair. It'll have the same effect. Chun Zhao thought about how furry he looked and couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He wouldn't do it even if he was beaten to death. Give it a try. No, it's ugly. The handsome guy rejected decisively. It's fine. You can handle it. The handsome guy turned his head and ignored Chun Zhao. Chapter 1243. Suddenly, Chun Zhao cast a spell on the handsome guy. The handsome guy was already prepared. Chun Zhao was clearly 100 years too early to ambush him with his current level. The handsome guy didn't hold back either. He casually cast a spell on Chun Zhao. Instantly, Chun Zhao turned into a hairy savage. All right, there was really no point in playing this trick. The level difference was too big. Comparing Chun Zhao and the handsome guy, one was a level 100 player with paywalls, while the other was a level 1 player with 0 paywalls. After playing for a while, the handsome guy turned Chun Zhao into a hairy monster. To be honest, I've never thought of using this spell on anyone before you. There's something called hair growth in the human world. I think this spell suits the name. Hair growth. Don't you think it's appropriate? The handsome guy snapped his fingers, and all the thick hair on Chun Zhao fell off. Then it's called hair loss. Teach me this spell too. It's too complicated. You can't cast it with your current strength. What? Hair tonic can be used, but hair loss can't be used? Hair growth is a blessing spell, but hair loss is a curse. The magic theory is much more complicated. If you can reach the level of a great lord one day, you should be able to learn hair loss. How far is my current strength from that of a great lord? About 100 times. Chen Zhao almost vomited blood. He thought that he should be very close to that level. He didn't expect to be shocked by the handsome guy's words. Is the difference that huge? Don't you have a great lord friend? I think he's Beelzebub's subordinate. You should be even weaker than him. Is Beelzebub Zophi stronger than a normal great lord? He's mastered the devouring technique. He's already devoured 4 great lords of the same level. So he's much more powerful than a normal great lord. There are less than 100 great lords like him in hell. He's close to a secondary demon king now. Chen Zhao's heart jumped. He remembered that when Beelzebub, Zophi, and Oris gave him Abidos, they'd said that they had a plan, but they didn't say it clearly. They said that they wanted him to take care of and educate Abidos, as well as to seek refuge. Chen Zhao had always been confused. They were so powerful. Why would they hide? Moreover, they shouldn't have any stronger enemies, right? Regular lords were no match for Beelzebub Zophi. Was there a need to entrust his own son to him? It felt like he was entrusting an orphan to her. Handsome, does he want to do something? Chen Zhao asked. Yes, do you want to know? Chen Zhao was conflicted. Should he find out from the handsome guy? Can I know? There's nothing I can't know, the handsome boy said. Then tell me. Their goal is very simple, to hunt secondary demon kings, said the handsome guy. You're saying that Beelzebub Zophi wants to challenge someone more powerful than him? It's not a challenge. It's an attempt to replace him. The handsome young man said, to deliberately devour other great lords to accumulate and increase their own strength. The goal is clear. Naturally, it's to replace a secondary demon king. Can he succeed? 1%, the handsome guy said. The handsome young man said, there are too many lords in hell. Almost every lord has their own ambitions, and there are not many lords who put their ambitions into action. Since I came to hell, there have only been a few successful examples. Is the success rate that low? Although a secondary demon king isn't a true demon king, I personally confer the title. Without the right, I won't confer the title. Therefore, a secondary demon king is already very powerful. To be conferred the title of a secondary demon king, a new one can only be appointed after a secondary demon king dies of old age. However, in the past few thousand years, no secondary demon king will die of old age. Therefore, the ambitious great lords naturally won't be willing to wait for a few thousand years. They'll personally kill the weaker secondary demon kings. What do you mean by weaker? Even the weakest secondary demon king is still 10 times stronger than your friend. Didn't you say that he's very close to becoming a secondary demon king? Yes, he's indeed very close. Originally, he was 100 times weaker, but now he's only 10 times weaker. Isn't he very close? Chen Zhao was speechless. There seemed to be something wrong with the concept of close. Don't worry. Before he reaches a true level, he won't do anything. You're saying that Beelzebub Zophi can also reach the level of a secondary demon king. He can in terms of power. Then, other than power, what's the difference? Secondary demon king. Why do you think he's a demon king? I don't know. As long as you have the title of demon king, no matter if you're a secondary demon king or a demon king, you'll have subordinates. The more subordinates you have, the stronger the demon king will be. But didn't you say that you don't have subordinates? You're not the strongest? I'm different from the other 6 great demon kings. We don't need to take the initiative to increase the number of subordinates, because all the demons are our descendants. All the demon kings and secondary demon kings are our subordinates. Is it like the demonic domain that the enemy I met a few days ago, Kinsmosa? More or less the same, but you can't compare it like that. It's almost the same, but it can't be compared like this. The demon domain that relies on opportunistic methods to obtain itself is incomplete, and it's a one-sided enslavement. On the other hand, being a subordinate is a win-win situation. If the subordinate is strong, then the bloodline of the subordinate's descendants will also be strong. If one day one of them is weak, the strength of the other will not fall because of it. This subordination relationship is protected by the rules. If one day, the strength of the subordinate's descendants reaches the secondary Demon King level, then they will leave their original subordination and become someone else's subordinate. What about me? Am I Beelzebub Zophie's subordinate? Your right arm is, but it doesn't belong to him. It belongs to the king of gluttony. He's a great lord, so he doesn't have the power or ability to have subordinates. When you reach the level of a secondary demon king in the future, I can help you squeeze out a spot for a secondary demon king. Then, you can leave Beelzebub. Forget it. Chen Zhao shook his head. Is there anything I can help Beelzebub Zophie with? Chapter 1244. How many secondary demon kings are there? 99, the handsome guy said. That many, of course. In hell, including me, there are 7 major demon kings, 21 demon kings, and 99 secondary demon kings. In the past 100,000 years, there have been 12 secondary demon kings and 1 demon king. Do you decide on demon kings and secondary demon kings? I don't have to decide on demon kings. Secondary demon kings that can challenge demon kings can naturally be replaced. Can demon kings challenge major demon kings? Theoretically, yes, but it's also impossible. At least, there's no record of any demon king challenging major demon kings. To Chun Zhao, the things that the handsome guy was talking about were too far away from him. He was more concerned about Beelzebub Zophie's safety, because he was a friend. It was that simple. Oh, did you bring the demon god pillar? No. You can bring the demon god pillar next time. I will help you find a suitable demon and seal it in the demon god pillar to be used as your familiar. Chun Zhao's heart jumped. The demon god pillar in Mirror Lake was still empty. Chun Zhao had always wanted to find a suitable demon to be his familiar. Agar's was not bad, but she wasn't actually very strong. She wasn't even as strong as Abito's, so it was meaningless to bring her to his doorstep. I want a demon that can protect my territory, Chun Zhao said. It'd be best if it's easy to control and not untamed. Next time you come to hell, I'll help you find one. Chun Zhao stayed in hell for a full 24 hours. His magic power increased by 1/10. It wasn't much, but it wasn't a small amount either. These 24 hours were probably equivalent to half a year of normal cultivation. Chun Zhao knew his current level and how difficult it was to double his magic power. Chun Zhao returned to the human world and saw 2 missed calls. They were from West. Hey, guild leader, there's a man called Inro. He says he wants to meet with you. That liar. Chun Zhao rubbed his forehead. Earlier, Sharon had asked him to teach Inro a lesson for her. Chun Zhao hadn't agreed. This had nothing to do with him. Plus, he'd helped Sharon record Inro's dirty plans. He'd already done his best. Chun Zhao was too lazy to be a busybody. This couldn't even be considered as acting bravely for a just cause. Shalon was a cop herself, and she had the skills to deal with a liar. Therefore, Chun Zhao didn't feel the need to be nosy. However, Chun Zhao didn't expect Inro to still find him. Guild leader, that person is a swindler? What did he lie about? He's a con man who takes women's money, Chun Zhao said calmly. Guild leader, how do you know such a person? West's tone was filled with obvious disgust. A suicidal idiot, Chun Zhao said. Where did he ask to meet me? Bar 551, Richard Street. Richard Main Street? That far? Guild leader, these scammers usually have many tricks up their sleeves. You'd better be careful. West wasn't worried about Chun Zhao's safety. If there was really something that could threaten his safety, it would probably be the end of the world. However, swindlers were different. They might not be harming people's lives. Got it, I'll be careful. Chun Zhao arrived at Richard Main Street. Richard Main Street was an old neighborhood. In the 50s and 60s, before Hollywood's movie industry was established, Richard Main Street was already a famous industrial district. However, as Los Angeles' pillar industry changed and the movie industry rose, Los Angeles became a world-famous movie factory. Richard Main Street gradually declined. There were still many old houses on both sides of the street. Most of them were built in the 50s and 60s, old and weathered. There weren't many people living here. There were also very few people and cars on the street. When Chen Zhao had wanted to come to America, he'd done some research. This was one of the places where the rent was cheap and it was safe. This was a white neighborhood. Although it had declined, most of the residents still retained their stubbornness and pride. They also had some racial tendencies. If Chen Zhao had chosen to rent a house here, he might not have been able to get one. Chen Zhao parked the car on the side of the road and strolled around the shops. Soon, Chen Zhao found Bar 551. Bar 551 wasn't a house number. It was just called Bar 551. Chen Zhao didn't know why it had such a strange name. A man in a windbreaker pushed open the door of the bar and bumped into Chen Zhao. The two glanced at each other. The man shrugged. Sorry. Chen Zhao touched his pockets. He hadn't lost anything. Entering the bar, Chen Zhao saw Enro. Smiling, Chen Zhao sat down before Enro. At the same time, he asked the waiter to pour 2 glasses of wine. Hi, Mr. Enro. I heard you were looking for me. Mr. Chen, did you tell Sharon about my plan? Enro looked at Chen Zhao with a livid expression. What are you talking about? I don't understand. You tricked me. Enro stared at Chen Zhao angrily. Don't you know the rules of our industry? You causing trouble like this and exposing my plan is not tolerated by the industry. Chen Zhao finally understood. This guy was here to punish him. Chen Zhao didn't know if Sharon had told him everything. Chen Zhao didn't care what Enro's goal was. He only blamed Sharon. After all, he'd helped her. How'd he get involved again? I don't understand the rules. Chen Zhao stood up. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. Chen Zhao wasn't interested in wasting time with a liar who tricked women. So, he turned to leave. Just then, Enro slammed the table and stood up angrily. Yellow monkey, do you know you've made a stupid decision? Chen Zhao stopped and turned to look at Enro. Don't force me to attack you here. You'll regret it. Enro stared at Chen Zhao with a livid expression. Chen Zhao sneered. Regret? He really wasn't afraid of Enro's threat. If Enro's threat could really pose a threat to him, then he wouldn't have specialized in deceiving women. I'm looking forward to seeing how you'll make me regret it. With that, Chen Zhao turned to leave. On his way home, he received a call from David. Hi, David. How come you have time to call me? Where are you now? Home. What's up? Chapter 1245. Escape? David, your joke is so strange. I'm strange? You're the one who's strange. David's bruises were slightly angry. Are you going to come to the police station and surrender yourself? Or do I have to arrest you myself? I don't know what you're talking about. Your murder of Enro Becker has already been recorded by the surveillance cameras. I think you don't have to pretend in front of me anymore. Wait, kill Enro Beck. Chen Zhao was dumbfounded. What kind of nonsense was this? When did he kill that liar? David, say it clearly. I don't care what you want to say. Anyway, come to the police station immediately. If you're sentenced, your sentence will be reduced. Chen Zhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What was going on? But he couldn't explain it now. He could only go to the police station and figure things out first. When Chen Zhao parked the car in front of the police station, Sharon was already there, staring at him. You did this for me? Weird. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes and entered the police station without looking back. Seeing Chen Zhao, David handcuffed him right away. Chen Zhao looked at the handcuffs. It wasn't the first time he'd put them on. Last time, it was Sharon who'd done it for him. Chen Zhao didn't think that David would do it himself this time. Is it necessary? Chen Zhao looked at David helplessly. Follow me. David brought Chen Zhao to the interrogation room and closed the door. Chen, why did you kill that person? David, I didn't kill anyone. At least, I didn't kill anyone today. Where were you at exactly 4 in the afternoon? Chen Zhao didn't really remember the time. After thinking, he said, either at 551 bar or in the car. But the surveillance camera at the entrance of 551 bar recorded the entire process of you killing Enro Becker. You even dragged Enro Becker's body into a van. Chen Zhao scratched his head. Can I see the surveillance? David looked at Chen Zhao deeply. He knew many things about Chen Zhao. He even knew that Chen Zhao would sometimes use private torture. David wouldn't ask about it either. After all, some of Chen Zhao's actions went against his professional ethics. But this time, Chen Zhao was too brazen. So David was even more conflicted. In the previous call, He even hoped that Chun Zhao would run away and disappear from the world. But he didn't expect Chun Zhao to turn himself in so casually. David played the surveillance video to Chun Zhao. The surveillance video recorded Chun Zhao entering and leaving the bar. When he saw this, he looked up at David. "See? I've already left." But just as he finished speaking, Inro walked out of the bar. At this moment, a van suddenly braked in front of the bar. In the video, Chun Zhao charged out of the van and shot Inro's head 3 times. Then, he dragged Inro's body into the van. Chun Zhao's eyes widened in disbelief. Because the person in the monitor was really him, and he was dressed exactly the same as him. David ended the video and looked at Chun Zhao. The owner of the bar called the police. He also confirmed that you and Inro Beck had an argument in the bar. Chun Zhao rubbed his head. "Can I say that I'm not the murderer in this video?" "Chun, the evidence is clear now. Why are you still denying it? I hope you can hand over Inro Becker's body. I really didn't do it." Chun Zhao's face was filled with helplessness. "Chun, someone changed into my appearance and committed the crime," Chun Zhao said. "Do you think that if I wanted to kill someone, I would do it so openly?" David frowned at Chun Zhao. To be honest, if there wasn't this video, he wouldn't believe it either. He believed that Chun Zhao wouldn't be crazy enough to commit murder in broad daylight. More importantly, did Chun Zhao need a gun? "I didn't do it." "Are you serious?" David stared at Chun Zhao seriously. Chun Zhao rubbed his chin. "Turn around and look." When David turned around, he was shocked. Behind him, a black and red liquid appeared, as if it was going to swallow him. Chun Zhao had shown David the dark lava. At the same time, he'd swallowed the table in the torture room right in front of him. "Did you see that?" Chun Zhao said helplessly. "If I wanted to kill someone and destroy the evidence, I wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. I can make them disappear without anyone noticing. I don't need to self-destruct like this." Chun Zhao couldn't show this ability in court, but David believed Chun Zhao. "So, someone really changed into your appearance and committed murder in the street?" Chun Zhao nodded. David was troubled. "Is this person also a spiritualist?" "Maybe. It's possible. If it's just plastic surgery, they can't change their clothes in such a short time. I think it's some kind of spiritualist magic. If that's the case, this person can change into your appearance, then it's possible that he can also change into someone else's appearance. In this case, it's almost impossible to catch the real culprit, and you will inevitably be tried in court, and your crime will almost never be cleared. So troublesome." Chun Zhao sighed. "Use my phone and call someone called West. Tell him to come here. Fei Lai, try to hide it if you can. Call her and tell her that I got drunk here," Chun Zhao said. "Oh, if I want to be released on bail, what procedures do I need?" "How much?" "You can't be released on bail now." "Why?" "Because your assets and the current evidence are too obvious, so you can't be released on bail. Even if it's accepted, you'll probably have to pay $10 million. No one was in more pain than David, because he knew that his friend was innocent. But he couldn't do anything. He even had to send his friend to jail with his own hands. Chun Zhao was very angry now, too, but he had to suppress his anger. He couldn't vent it on David, right? "You can only stay in the detention room tonight." David seemed pained. "Tomorrow, you'll be transferred to jail until the court or I find groundbreaking evidence." Chun Zhao nodded helplessly. He was really unlucky this time, but he didn't have high hopes for David and the police. Chapter 1246. Chun Zhao was locked in the police station's detention room. The handcuffs were temporarily removed. Actually, David also knew that handcuffs were meaningless to Chun Zhao. In fact, the police station was meaningless to Chun Zhao. If Chun Zhao wanted to leave, no one could stop him. Chun Zhao didn't think that he would have a day like this. However, Chun Zhao actually had a cellmate. It was a bald fatty wearing a loose t-shirt. There were all sorts of strange tattoos on his head, extending all the way to his shoulders. His expression was ferocious. Chun Zhao lay on the bed, but the fatty was already staring at him. "Kid, take off your pants," the bald fatty shouted. Chun Zhao turned his head and glanced at the fatty, after which he sat up. "What did you say?" "I told you to take off your pants." Chun Zhao stood up, but he subconsciously glanced at the surveillance camera. He was already very angry, very angry. I told you to take off your pants. Don't you understand? The fatty roared again. At the same time, he stood up and reached out to grab Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao swung his fist and smashed into the wall behind the fat bald man. His body smashed into the fat bald man's body. The fat bald man was knocked back onto the bed. He saw Chen Zhao's fist retract from the wall. The dust on the wall landed on the fatty's face. Baldy raised his head and looked at the hole in the wall. His expression suddenly became unnatural. Chen Zhao put his hands on the edge of the bed frame. He squeezed hard, deforming the metal frame. What did you say? Say it again. I was joking. The fatty wanted to cry. He was about to piss his pants. He'd thought that Chen Zhao was an Asian with yellow skin. He'd heard that Asians were all cowards in America. Who would have thought that Chen Zhao wasn't cowardly at all? He even looked ferocious. More importantly, this guy was so strong that he didn't seem human. Duong. Chen Zhao turned around and saw David standing outside the door. He knocked on the metal fence. Chen, someone's here to visit you. Chen Zhao rubbed his forehead and walked to the fence. When David opened the door, Chen Zhao said, "If he wants to change rooms, don't agree." David looked at the bald fatty who was so scared that he peed his pants, and then nodded. Chen Zhao was brought to the interrogation room and saw West sitting there. Generally speaking, when a suspect was locked up in a temporary detention center, he was not allowed to see anyone other than his lawyer. But West must have his own ways. Seeing Chen Zhao in handcuffs, West covered his mouth to stifle his laughter. He had never seen Chen Zhao in such a sorry state. "If you're here to mock me, I'll make you regret it when I get out," Chen Zhao threatened. "All right, guild leader. Let's get down to business." West immediately gave in. The mocking words that he had prepared were immediately tossed aside, not daring to come out of his mouth again. "Guild leader, tell me the specifics." "I was framed." Chen Zhao told the whole story. "There are people who can change their appearance and even their clothes?" "Yes." Chen Zhao nodded. "Is there a way to capture him?" "Alice knows divination, but it'll be difficult if the person's magic level is higher than Alice." "Then let Alice do the divination first," Chen Zhao said. Seeing that Chen Zhao was filled with anger, West didn't dare to provoke Chen Zhao. Otherwise, Chen Zhao would really lose control. Chen Zhao didn't want things to get out of hand. After all, Fei Lai was pregnant. He didn't want her to be worried. "Tomorrow, call Fei Lai and tell her that I'm going on a secret mission." "Okay." Chen Zhao stood up and walked out of the interrogation room. David was waiting for him at the door. He wasn't eavesdropping at the door. Instead, he was helping Chen Zhao watch and make sure that other police officers wouldn't come. "Are you done?" "Yes." Chen Zhao nodded. David brought Chen Zhao back to the detention room. "Can your friend help you find the person?" "I hope so." To be honest, Chen Zhao's thoughts were all over the place. If he really couldn't find the person, what should he do? Run away? Then his 1 year of hard work would go down the drain. Or accept the punishment of the law. Or go to jail for 8 to 10 years. Either way, Chen Zhao couldn't accept it. Indeed, he had to find the culprit. Chen Zhao returned to his detention room with a dark expression. Seeing the trembling, bald fatty, a cruel smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. "I'm warning you, don't do anything stupid. I know a gang." The bald fatty stared at Chen Zhao in fear. "You're right. Are you gay?" No. "Then what do you want me to do by taking off my pants?" I just want to tease you." Chen Zhao couldn't understand this kind of bad taste. "You like people taking off their pants? Fine, then take off your pants." What are you doing?" The fatty covered his butt and stared at Chen Zhao in terror. "Are you going to take it off yourself, or do I have to help you?" Chen Zhao looked at the fatty. To be honest, he wasn't really interested in the fatty's naked body. However, the fatty had provoked him first. If Chen Zhao didn't fight back, the fatty would really look down on him. "I'm not doing anything. I just like to see naked bodies." When Chen Zhao said this, even he felt like vomiting. "I'll sue you. I'll sue you for bodily harm." The fatty didn't think that one day he'd have to use the law to protect himself. Chen Zhao looked around and then dismantled the fatty's bed frame. He held an iron rod in his hand. "When I take off your clothes and pants, there'll be one more of this in your dick. Do you believe me?" No. The fatty felt as wronged as a wife who'd just met a hooligan. He didn't know that Chun Zhao was so fierce. In the end, under Chun Zhao's coercion, the fatty took off his clothes and pants. Just leave your underwear. So fucking disgusting. Chun Zhao couldn't bear to watch anymore. He lay back on his bed and turned his back. However, he tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Chun Zhao turned around and glanced at the fatty. At the moment, the fatty was curled up on his bed. Because of Chun Zhao's violent actions, his bed had already collapsed. Hey, what's your name? The fatty looked up at Chun Zhao. He didn't really want to speak. But after some thought, considering Chun Zhao's combat power, he still spoke. Morocco Bick, what crime did you commit? Chapter 1247. Morocco Piccolo would be sent to prison tomorrow, just like him. Just the thought of going to jail gave him a headache. Go to jail, stay in jail. Chun Zhao was getting more and more anxious. Morocco curled up in the corner. He felt that Chun Zhao's gaze was a bit scary. Even the air in the detention room became oppressive. Morocco curled up like that for the whole night. Chun Zhao didn't sleep for the entire night. He just sat on the bed. The next day, Chun Zhao and Morocco were sent to the escort vehicle, to a prison in the suburbs. Chun Zhao's hands and feet were shackled. According to the prison rules of the United States, when transferring prisoners, murderers were required to wear leg cuffs. So, Chun Zhao was honored to put on the shackles. Morocco glanced at Chun Zhao, who was in the same car as him. He secretly prayed that he wouldn't be in the same cell as Chun Zhao again. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. After arriving at the prison, Chun Zhao was finally unshackled. He changed into an orange prison uniform. Then he was sent to his cell. Coincidentally, when Morocco saw Chun Zhao walk into the prison, he looked like he was about to cry. Hi, Morocco. We meet again. What a coincidence. Morocco felt like crying. Thankfully, he wasn't as irritable as he was in the detention center. At least when Morocco didn't provoke him, Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered to vent his anger on him. How long is the sentence for intentional homicide in Morocco? Morocco's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't be a homicidal maniac, right? It depends on the plot. It's shooting someone in the head in the middle of the street. At least 10 years. Hearing Morocco's answer, Chun Zhao started thinking about how to escape. How troublesome. At this moment, the ringing of a bell came from outside the cell. What's that sound? When Morocco heard this, he relaxed and explained, it's lunchtime. At this moment, the electronic door opened with a click. Chun Zhao and Morocco walked out of the cell. The prison canteen was a hodgepodge. There were all kinds of people. Of course, Chun Zhao was also one of the various types of people. Chun Zhao carried a plate. The prisoner in charge of carrying the food looked up at him. Newbie? The prisoner casually gave Chun Zhao some food. Chun Zhao didn't like this attitude, even if he didn't care about the amount of food. Forget it. I'm already in prison. It's better to keep a low profile. Chun Zhao found Morocco's seat. Seeing Chun Zhao sit down, Morocco immediately put a drumstick on his plate to Chun Zhao. No, you eat, Chun Zhao said calmly. But just then, a big guy walked over and grabbed the drumstick from Chun Zhao's plate, eating it right away. It's not your fault. The big guy looked down at Chun Zhao. Newbie, you don't seem to understand what this place is. Bullying newcomers was a prison rule. Whether it was in China or abroad, the rules were the same. Han Bao, as a veteran of the prison industry, was very knowledgeable about prisons and had a lot of feelings for them. After all, Han Bao had been in prison for 15 years. Of course, it wasn't because he committed a crime. This is a prison, a place for bastards. Huh, you also know that it's a place for assholes, so you should know that I'm an asshole. The big guy patted Chun Zhao's head lightly. Pa, Chun Zhao had already smashed the plate into the big guy's face. All the prisoners looked at Chun Zhao. However, no one was surprised by this. In this place, there would be a fight almost every day. Even the prison guards weren't surprised. So, they didn't care about the fights. Of course, if someone hit too hard, they'd be locked up. The big guy climbed up and wiped the food off his face. His expression was ferocious. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. With that, the big guy pounced at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao reached out and grabbed the guy's chest, slamming him heavily onto the ground. Bang! The entire cafeteria could hear the sound of the big guy's intimate contact with the ground. I forgot to tell you, Chun Zhao said with a faint smile. I'm also very knowledgeable about killing. Maybe we can discuss it. The big guy reached out to scratch Chun Zhao, but his limbs couldn't reach Chun Zhao. Suddenly, someone hit the back of Chun Zhao's head hard. Chun Zhao turned around and saw a black man hitting him. Chun Zhao pushed forward, and the black man fell 3 or 4 meters away, landing heavily on the ground. But another person came up to attack Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao lifted his hand and threw it again, smashing it onto the big guy's body. Another one seeking his own death, and another one. Chun Zhao used one move after another, piling them all on the big guy's body. After knocking down 6 people in a row, no one else continued to attack Chun Zhao. Just then, the prison guard on the second floor knocked on the metal bars with his baton. "Stop, you bastards. Don't look for trouble." The prison guards also liked to watch fights, but they would stop it before it got out of hand. Chun Zhao took the lunches of the 6 prisoners he'd knocked down. Under everyone's gaze, he ate all 6 lunches. Morocco stared at Chun Zhao with wide eyes. Not only could this guy fight, but he could also eat. In prison, there were usually 3 types of prisoners. The other type was that those who had gangs outside would form their own cliques after entering prison. Other prisoners were basically unwilling to provoke these cliques, and they wouldn't actively provoke other prisoners either. Another type was those who were better at fighting. They would gather a group of people and wouldn't provoke the cliques. Instead, they would provoke newcomers and those who were easier to bully. The third type was those who were easy to bully. There were also people like Chun Zhao who looked like they were easy to bully. Of course, after this battle, there shouldn't be anyone who would think that way anymore. Although a prisoner like the big guy had been taught a lesson by Chun Zhao, this was too common in prison. However, this kind of thing was too common in prison, and it was always bullying. There wasn't any life or death feud. After this, they might not become friends, but they wouldn't become enemies either. Just like in the movies, after being beaten up, you would stab someone with a knife. This would never happen in real life. Prisoners weren't stupid either. They wouldn't seek death. In prison, there weren't many prisoners who would want to take their opponent down with them, just because they'd been beaten up. Chun Zhao suddenly slapped his head. He could have been released for medical treatment. He should have been beaten up by these bastards and then released for medical treatment. Morocco, who was sitting opposite Chun Zhao, was shocked. He didn't know why Chun Zhao had such a sudden reaction. Chun Zhao looked at the big guy and the others with a bitter expression. Seeing Chun Zhao's gaze, the big guy and the others couldn't help but shiver. Chapter 1248. Lingam, you're really something. Inro patted his partner's shoulder. That yellow-skinned monkey must be regretting it now. Never in his wildest dreams would he think that he'd end up in jail for no reason. Lingam crossed his legs and drank his whiskey nonchalantly. He'd worked with Inro many times. Inro knew his abilities. Of course, it was more like hiring than working together. Each time, Inro would pay him tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. "Here's your check for this trip." Lingam glanced at the check and pocketed it. Suddenly, Lingam's brows twitched as a very bad feeling crept into his heart. Lingam stood up abruptly. "Someone's trying to find my location." "What do you mean?" Inro wasn't a spiritualist, so he didn't really understand. Lingam's special bloodline allowed him to change into someone else's appearance after coming into contact with them. This ability was almost unsolvable for ordinary people. But for spiritualists, there were ways, such as divination. However, Lingam had telepathy. If someone used divination to find his location, he'd immediately sense it. Divination could indeed lock onto a person's location to a large extent, but it could only lock onto a temporary location. It couldn't be tracked, so Lingam only needed to change his location and the person would miss him. "Let's leave immediately," Lingam said. "Do we have to leave now?" "Yes, we have to." Inro hurriedly packed his things and left the rental house with Lingam. 20 minutes after they left, West, Alice, and Klaus came in. "Huh? Where is he? Did he run away?" Klaus kept his hands behind his back. He looked around the rental house to make sure there was no one. "Is it a coincidence? Or did he notice that we're following him?" "Call Alice first." and ask her if she can divine it again. Mr. West, don't touch that first. We can find fingerprints on it. What's the use of fingerprints? West asked, confused. That person can change his face, but his fingerprints might not be the same. I need to confirm if his fingerprints are in the government's archives. If they are, I might be able to find his various records, including his real identity and what kind of car he has now. What's the point of knowing what car he's using now? We don't know where he is, so it's pointless. Mr. West, don't you know that surveillance cameras can automatically identify license plates? Lingham's hair stood on end again. Not again. Damn it, who's divining me? Lingham didn't feel good at all. To be able to divine him continuously, it was very likely that the other party was a spiritualist stronger than him, or even a witch. Lingham himself was a spiritualist, but he did not know much about the supernatural world. Most of the people he came into contact with were the elders of the family. His family elders had always warned him not to have any conflict with witches. Their family was not a powerful spiritualist family. If he encountered a witch who was extremely aggressive, then he would hide and escape as much as he could. Never think of provoking a witch. If she was divined 3 times in a row in a short period of time, then she was most likely a witch. Generally speaking, wizards did not have such powerful magic power. Inro, drive in another direction. Lingham said to Inro, who was driving. Lingham, what's going on? Someone's using magic to track us, Lingham said. Inro was shocked. You mean, there's someone else with special abilities besides you? You think I'm unique in this world? Lingham looked at Inro as if he was an idiot. What do we do now? It's okay. As long as we keep changing locations, that person won't be able to find us. And if he keeps using magic to track us, we won't even be able to stop, right? He can't keep using magic to track us. At most 3 or 4 times. As soon as Lingham finished, the feeling came again. Damn it, it's only been a while and it's here again. Lingham told Inro to change directions again. But not long after, Lingham felt again. Bastard, who's looking for me? What does he want? Isn't he tired of using divination so recklessly? Bastard, he changed locations again. This guy can sense my divination? Alyssa said in surprise. Can't you determine his location? Gaia asked. He seems to be constantly moving. Every time I finish divination, he'll change directions. What should we do? It's okay. He has to stop eventually. I'll just keep doing it. You keep using divination. Can your magic power hold up? He's very weak. I can do it for the whole night. The mana cost of divination was related to the target's mana. If the target's mana was 1, then the cost would be 1 too. If it was 10, then the cost would be 10 too. Alyssa estimated her own mana cost. The person's mana should be less than 30. This was even lower than the lowest mana of the supernatural organization's members before Chen Zhao's era. Now, Alyssa's mana was as high as 350. It consumed less than 30 points of magic power each time, which was no problem for Alyssa. Basically, she could use divination every 10 minutes to recover her mana. Therefore, she could use divination infinitely. Of course, except when she was eating, sleeping, or going to the toilet. Alyssa worked especially hard too. After all, she was an early member and her magic was special. Alyssa wasn't a combat witch, although she could attack. She wasn't a support type witch either. She was a functional witch. Sealing, divination, and prediction spells were her forte. At the same time, she belonged to the magic encyclopedia. Of course, because it wasn't complete, many spells weren't complete. He changed directions again. He seems to be leaving the city. He's on Route 122 now. Route 122? That road should lead to Compton, Gaius said, holding the map. You said that he'll change directions every time you do divination, right? Yes, Gaia analyzed. It was originally at Shalene Street, then here, and finally Highway 122. Gaia's eyes flashed. She pointed at the map. Alyssa, next divination after 30 minutes. Don't do it before then. Chapter 1249. Chen Zhao was depressed. After the fight, he'd wanted to continue provoking Big Guy and his gang, but they were all terrified. This doesn't seem to be the same as what I know. Chen Zhao wanted to get beaten up, but in this prison, no one was willing to fight him anymore. As a result, Chun Zhao didn't have a good appetite during dinner. He ate unhappily. Boss Chun, are you full? Morocco asked. Do you need me to get you some food? No need. Chun Zhao was very unhappy. He kept staring at Big Guy and his gang. Big Guy and his gang kept their heads down, not daring to meet Chun Zhao's eyes. Boss Chun, there's a boxing match tonight. What kind of match? Chun Zhao asked, confused. It's organized by the prison guards. The contestants are all serious criminals. Chun Zhao wasn't a serious criminal. He was just a suspect now. Before he was convicted, he wasn't a real guest here. Generally, the felons in the prison lived separately from the ordinary prisoners. They would only go together when they had to eat or when they were out for a walk. Nothing will happen. Of course. Every year, a few people die on the stage, Morocco said. But so what? Yeah, so what? Even in a country with relatively complete laws like America, there are still many dark people. But the prison guards can't force you to participate in this match, right? The prison guards have their ways. Which serious criminal doesn't want their sentence reduced? Every time they reduce their sentence, the prison has to issue an evaluation form. The prison guards have the absolute right to decide. Are you familiar with this prison? I've been here at least 6 times, Morocco said. The longest time was 2.5 years. After dinner, Chun Zhao and Morocco returned to their cells. Around 10 at night, there was the sound of a baton knocking on the cell door. A prison guard poked his head in. Are you asleep? Neither Chun Zhao nor Morocco was asleep. No, Morocco replied. At this moment, the cell door was opened. Knock, knock. The guard knocked on the door again, then left. What does he mean? He's asking if we're going or not. If we're going, go to the cafeteria. If not, close the door. There were so many rules in this prison. However, he still wanted to see the world, so he went to the cafeteria with Morocco. At this time, the tables and chairs in the canteen had been pushed to the corner. 40 to 50 prisoners were standing on the tables and chairs beside them. A dozen prison guards were standing in front of the bars on the second floor. A short convict was walking among the other prisoners, collecting gambling money. This short prisoner was probably the prison guard's lackey. Help the prison guards open the gambling house and collect the gambling money. Chun Zhao was quite surprised that these criminals actually had cash. Moreover, it was like a regular boxing match. There was even a host holding a microphone, introducing the first 2 contestants to the audience and gamblers. Chun Zhao heard that people didn't use their fists in underground fights. However, the fighters in this prison boxing match were wearing masks. The rate of death and disability without gloves was too high. If the prison guards organized a boxing match, they probably wouldn't earn more than $10,000. However, if one person died, the various procedures and arrangements would be very troublesome, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Therefore, the boxing match was still carried out in a more formal way, and there were also referees. Of course, rather than calling it a boxing match, it would be more accurate to call it a freestyle fight. Most of the rules were also freestyle fights. Apart from not stabbing the eyes or attacking the lower body, all attacks were allowed. Chun Zhao had thought that he would be able to see a bloody fight, but he was still somewhat disappointed. The fight to the death like in movies and TV dramas did not appear. Of course, it might also be because there weren't many benefits. Boss Chun, do you want to buy some to play? The short convict asked Chun Zhao. I don't have money. Chun Zhao had everything in his spatial ring except cash. Boss Chun, I do. Where did you get the money? Chun Zhao saw Morocco take out a stack of money. It was at least $1,000. Chun Zhao had heard from Morocco that he had robbed a convenience store for a few $100s and even injured an employee. How could he have more than $1,000 now? Chun Zhao found it unbelievable. I'm here to help someone bring goods. Chun Zhao was stunned. This guy was helping someone bring drugs into prison. However, Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered with Morocco. Morocco wasn't anyone to him. They weren't even friends. How did you bring it in? Chun Zhao asked curiously. But Morocco bet $100 for Chun Zhao and also bought $100 for himself. How much can you earn each time you bring goods? $10,000. Chun Zhao was speechless. He had to bring at least $50,000 worth of goods to get $10,000 in shipping fees, right? Chun Zhao wasn't in this business, but he still knew about the prices of these black industries. After all, Chun Zhao would occasionally buy goods from them. Morocco had to stuff at least 2,000 pills in his butt. The match began. The two fighters in the ring were both death row convicts. When Chun Zhao heard their information, he wanted to kill the two death row criminals. The fight in the ring was very intense. They almost gave up on defense and used fierce attacks to hurt each other. To be honest, Chun Zhao had probably killed more people than everyone else here combined. However, Chun Zhao really couldn't see what was so interesting about this fist-to-flesh fight. The surrounding convicts, including Morocco, were all roaring hysterically, as if they were influenced by the fight in the ring. This match used the rule of one round to the end. There were no breaks in the middle. After 10 minutes of intense fighting, one of them fell to the ground, his face covered in blood. The winner raised his hands and roared at the people around him. Only Chun Zhao watched the match expressionlessly. The surrounding audience also cheered in unison. The winner looked around and suddenly saw Chun Zhao, who was facing everything coldly. The winner pointed at Chun Zhao with his gloves and made a provocative gesture. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao. What does he mean? Boss Chun, he's challenging you. Oh, so I can fight in the ring? Of course. Anyone is welcome to fight in the ring. Chun Zhao walked to the bottom of the ring and jumped onto it. The host introduced Chun Zhao cooperatively. He also told them about Chun Zhao's achievement of defeating 6 people this afternoon. Chapter 1250. Chun Zhao suddenly looked up because he smelled magic in the air. It was very faint, but it couldn't escape Chun Zhao's senses. Looking at the excited prisoners and prison guard around him, Chun Zhao was sure that someone was using magic here. He didn't know what the purpose was. Poof! Just as Chun Zhao was distracted, a fist punched his face. He didn't feel any pain, but to Chun Zhao, this was a great humiliation. Chun Zhao punched back and knocked the person to the ground. The scene quieted down immediately. No one expected the competition to end so suddenly. Chun Zhao looked around again, but didn't see anyone suspicious. Whatever, it had nothing to do with him. Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered to ask. Plus, he was a prisoner now. Why did he have to care who was doing what? At the moment, Inro and Lingam were on their way out of the city. Suddenly, Lingam's body trembled. That feeling came again. Again? Should we change direction? Inro was already used to it. We can't change direction. Lingam shook his head. There's still a lot of traffic in our direction, but there's clearly much less traffic going into the city. If we change direction, we might be discovered. Lingam analyzed. Let's keep going in this direction. Lingam, where are we going? If we keep being sensed by other people using magic like this, we'll be found sooner or later. It's okay, Lingam said. This time, the person's divination took half an hour. It means that he's starting to get tired. He was very confident in his analysis. He can't keep divining forever. As long as we leave L, it'll be hard for him to continue tracking us. If he divines again, we'll return to L, A, and the person chasing us will be tired of running. Lingam, do you know who's chasing us? No. Lingam had always been afraid of this. He didn't want to talk about it in front of Inro, because he was afraid that Inro would leave him, because he didn't know how to drive. This was the crux of the matter. If Inro were to separate from him, there would be no one to drive him. It would be very troublesome to change direction quickly. So Lingam didn't want Inro to know that the person chasing him was very powerful. But just as Lingam had feared, Inlor was behaving like this. He did not want to run around with Lingam. Lingam, don't you think we should split up and run? Are you sure he's only looking for me? It's possible that they're trying to capture both of us at the same time. I can sense their divination, but you can't. Perhaps you've already been divined many times before this. If I wasn't here, I'm afraid you'd have already fallen into their hands, Lingam said. Inro's expression changed slightly when he heard Lingam's words. Indeed, if Lingam wasn't around, they might have captured him. At the same time, the members of the Lightning Squad were patrolling the roads leading into and out of the city on Highway 122. If it was during the day, it would be hard to find him with the traffic in downtown Los Angeles. But at night, the traffic flow was relatively less. Therefore, it was very easy to find them on the roads leading into and out of the city. Klaus had found both Inro and Lingam's fingerprints at their residence. and Lingham's fingerprints were in the FBI's files. Lingham was also a repeat offender, but these files were all from before the age of 18. After the age of 18, Lingham had turned into a good young man with no criminal records. Through the bank's spending records, Klaus also found out that Lingham had bought a car not long ago, but Lingham didn't have a driver's license. That meant that Lingham had other accomplices. This information was obtained by West through the authority of the Anti-Terrorism Department. Zella, there's a car 5 kilometers ahead of you. It looks like the car we're tracking. Chase after it and take a look. Also, don't approach recklessly. We're not sure if the other party is an attack-type spiritualist or some other type. Don't take the risk. Okay, got it, Zella replied. Klaus had obtained the real-time monitoring authority of the highway system. He had been in charge of monitoring and commanding. There's a car behind us. Immerse saw the headlights behind them. Lingham's expression changed slightly. Just then, his body once again felt the divination of his pursuer. Turn into the woods at the junction ahead. Immerse immediately turned when he reached the junction, but they suspected that it was the car following them, so they also turned into the forest path. This time, they finally confirmed that the car behind them was really following them. What do we do now? Keep driving, Lingham said. We're running out of gas. Why didn't you say so earlier? Lingham grumbled. Do I even need to say it? We've been driving for 5 or 6 hours. Immerse also had some complaints in his heart. He felt that this had nothing to do with him. It was all Lingham's trouble. Not long after, the car completely ran out of gas and stopped. Immerse and Lingham immediately took out their pistols. Although they were both scammers, they always carried guns with them for self-defense. Zella, who was in the car behind, saw Immerse and Lingham get out of the car in front and the pistols in their hands. He instantly felt that it was ridiculous. They were actually using guns in front of him. If they were using magic, he might be afraid, but they were actually using guns. Gaia, where are you now? I've already found them. Their car seems to have run out of gas. They seem to be resisting and have guns in their hands. Zella also had guns in his car, but he didn't plan to use them. After all, they were trying their best to capture them alive, not kill them. At this moment, Immerse and Lingham were also unsure. They had almost never used guns. The two of them slowly approached Zella's car with guns raised. Get out of the car now. Now. Zella got out of the car. He raised his hands and smiled at Immerse and Lingham. Who are you? Why are you following us? Zella looked at the two with calm eyes. Why are we following you? Well, you should know what you've done. I don't care who you are. Get on the ground now. Now, hurry up. The two planned to snatch Zella's car and then leave. Unfortunately, Zella still stood there with his hands raised. I advise you to put down your guns. Chapter 12:51. Don't waste time with him. Get in the car. Immerse pushed Zella away. Zella didn't use any strength and let Immerse push him away. As soon as they got in the car, they realized that Zella had a gun. Not a small pistol like theirs, but a machine gun. Why isn't he fighting back? He's definitely out of bullets. Yes, for clips. The two looked at Zella, who was standing outside the car. Their expressions were a bit unnatural. But Zella's smile was very natural, and he kept smiling. Lingham suddenly got out of the car and pointed his gun at Zella. Why aren't you fighting back? Kid, you obviously don't know what you're facing. Zella still had that smile, but his smile made Lingham's hair stand on end. Lingham, let's go. Don't waste time. Suddenly, the dark forest path was suddenly enveloped by a red light. Lingham and Immerse looked up at the sky at the same time. Then, they saw a ball of fire fall from the sky. Immerse scrambled down from the car. Boom! The fire fell on the roof of the car. Zella took 2 steps back and fanned the heat. Lingham and Immerse were hit by the heat and fell to the ground. They felt like their bodies were about to fall apart. When they turned around, they saw a tall woman standing on the roof of the car with flames all over her body. This woman was like the legendary goddess of war, looking down on all beings in the flames. Gaia, it took me a lot of effort to modify this car. Gaia shrugged. The landing failed. I've been practicing landing in human form recently and couldn't do it accurately. Lingham stood up with difficulty and looked at Gaia in fear. He turned around and ran into the forest. Not chasing. He's running in the direction that Helith is coming from. I think we should stop him. Helith respects the chairman the most. Are you sure Helith won't kill this guy? Helith knows what she's doing. Inro twisted his butt and tried to sneak away. Suddenly, a greatsword fell in front of Inro. If you want to lose a limb, keep crawling. Gaia looked down at Inro. Ah! Extremely tragic screams came from the forest. Inro was startled. It was Lingam's voice. Then, he saw Lingam running away frantically. Inro saw the look on Lingam's face. It was obvious that he had encountered something even more terrifying in the woods. Not long after, Helios walked out of the forest. Gaia, can I kill him? If we kill him, Chin won't be able to come out. All right, we'll wait for the guild leader to come out before we kill him. Harold, compromised. Who the hell are you people? How much do you want? I can give you however much you want. 100,000 US dollars? No, $500,000. Boss Chun, you're amazing. The man you just beat up was a professional boxer before he went to prison. Professional boxer? Even if the boxing champion came, he would still be defeated. Is that guy famous? Boss Chun, don't you see the news? That guy is a very famous boxer. What crime did he commit to get in here? He raped his own daughter. Fuck, I should have killed him just now. That kind of scum. I hope he can meet White Nightmare. What White Nightmare? Chun Zhao asked curiously. Chun Zhao had seen nightmares before, but he had never heard of a White Nightmare. Norma had the bloodline of nightmares. She could turn her soul into a nightmare. I haven't seen it either, but in this prison, there's a legend about the White Nightmare nightmares. It is said that the White Nightmare nightmares will enter the prisoners' cells and kill them. Every time someone dies in the prison, someone will say that the White Nightmare nightmares did it. The last time I came here, someone died. A prisoner said that his roommate was killed by the White Nightmare nightmares. Every prison had all kinds of legends, but most of them were made up. When he was fighting in the ring, Chun Zhao had indeed felt magic. However, it wasn't strong, and he didn't feel any evil aura. People often said that words were like the person. Some people could tell a person's state of mind and emotions from words. Relatively speaking, words couldn't completely tell a person's good or evil, but magic could. For example, Chun Zhao's magic was filled with violence and madness. Gaia's magic was scorching and determined. Heli's magic was obscure and impure. Alice had told Chun Zhao that some spiritualists would go to special places to practice magic. For example, prisons were often visited by people who practiced black magic. Practicing black magic didn't mean that they were evil. For example, Heli's was the representative of black magic. Her magic was impure, but it wasn't evil. Whatever, let's not talk about this. It's so uncomfortable to talk about this at night. After the lights went out, Chun Zhao heard Morocco mumbling. At the same time, an ethereal aura appeared. Chun Zhao turned his head and saw wisps of white gas seeping in from the crack of the door. The white gas gradually gathered into a white creature. The creature was as white as snow and had a cat's head. It wasn't tall, less than 80 centimeters, and it stood upright. It looked like a cat demon. The creature bounced lightly and stuck to the wall. Then it jumped to the ceiling and hung upside down. It walked a few steps upside down on the ceiling until it was above Morocco. Then it swooped down. The cat demon wasn't invisible. Morocco could feel it when it fell. Morocco opened his eyes and saw the cat demon on him. He opened his mouth, but he couldn't make a sound. He couldn't even move. The cat demon reached out with its claws and slowly grabbed Morocco's neck. Morocco wanted to struggle, but he couldn't move at all. It was as if a ghost was pressing down on him. His body tensed up. The cat demon was very small. It probably didn't weigh more than 20 kilograms. Normally, a creature of this size wouldn't be able to harm Morocco's body at all. Morocco was 1.8 meters tall, but he weighed 110 kilograms. He was more than 10 times the cat demon's weight. However, the cat demon's seemingly weak claws made it hard for him to breathe when it grabbed Morocco's neck. Help! Help! Morocco turned his head with difficulty. He wanted to cry for help, to ask Chun Zhao for help. But his voice was very weak, and he had trouble breathing, like a drowning person. However, he saw that Chun Zhao seemed to be looking at him. Morocco couldn't make a sound. He could only move his mouth to ask for help. Suddenly, the cat demon realized that Chun Zhao was looking at it too. Hiss, hiss! The cat demon hissed at Chun Zhao. Chapter 1252. Chen Zhao thought that he'd been preparing for a long time and could definitely capture it. Unexpectedly, the cat demon was also very fast. It leaped and dodged Chen Zhao's attack. At the same time, it reached out with its claws and scratched Chen Zhao's arm. But it didn't even break Chen Zhao's skin. Chen Zhao grabbed again, even faster this time. Seeing that it couldn't beat Chen Zhao, the cat leaped onto the ceiling and jumped to the door. Then it turned into white smoke and escaped through the crack. Whoosh! Morocco bounced up, fear written all over his face. Boss Chun, white nightmare, white nightmare. That's a white nightmare. It wants to kill me, it wants to kill me. Morocco was really frightened. He'd thought that he'd die for sure. If Chen Zhao hadn't chased the white nightmare away, he'd definitely be dead. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. He pinched Morocco's chin and looked at the mark on his neck. The mark wasn't deep, but it left a bruise. I won't die. Time to sleep. Chen Zhao lay back on the bed. Morocco couldn't sleep now. He pushed Chen Zhao. Boss Chun, don't sleep. What if the white nightmare comes again? You're disturbing my sleep. Do you want to die? Chen Zhao turned around and glared at Morocco. No. Boss Chen, what if the white nightmare comes to attack you? I'll kill whoever disturbs my sleep, whether it's you or it. Chen Zhao glared at Morocco. Fuck off. Don't disturb my sleep. Morocco wanted to cry. Chen Zhao was his only support. Chen Zhao was fearless, but Morocco, who'd just escaped from the gates of hell, didn't dare to close his eyes. He couldn't sleep for the entire night. He curled up in a corner of the bed, not daring to close his eyes. The next day after breakfast, it was time to relax. Morocco had completely become Chen Zhao's lackey. He followed Chen Zhao closely. He'd really been frightened last night. After a night of thinking, he felt that Chen Zhao wasn't a normal person. How could a normal person not be afraid in that situation? Yes, maybe Chen Zhao was an Eastern wizard. Maybe he'd come to the prison on purpose to capture the white nightmare. 013, someone's here to see you, the alarm said. 013 was Chen Zhao's number. Chen Zhao went to the visiting area. It wasn't the kind of place where people communicated through a glass. Instead, there was a table and 2 chairs facing each other. There were already a few prisoners in the visiting room. Chen Zhao saw David sitting in front of the table and walked over. Chun, did you know that Enro, who was supposed to be dead, surrendered to the police last night? He's not dead. No. And he's not injured at all. He's perfectly fine. He's already confessed. In order to frame you, he purposely hired someone who looks like you and staged that farce. However, he seems to be quite frightened. When can I go out? I'm working on the paperwork for you now. You'll be able to leave this afternoon. Can you slow it down a bit? All right, send Enro to this prison. Previously, Chen Zhao had been scheming to get out, but now that he could, he didn't want to leave so soon. Let me out tomorrow, Chen Zhao said. Don't kill anyone, David said. I don't want you to go to jail. Don't worry, I won't. After hearing David's news, Chen Zhao relaxed. However, West also told Fei Lai that he was going on a secret mission and would need 2 or 3 days. If he went back now, Fei Lai would be suspicious. Chen Zhao always reported only the good news to Fei Lai. After all, Fei Lai was pregnant now. Chen Zhao didn't want her emotions to fluctuate too much. Boss Chen, why are you so happy? When Morocco saw that Chen Zhao had returned from the visit, the gloom on his face seemed to have dissipated. His face was filled with sunshine. The asterisk shoal who framed me will be sent here in the afternoon. Chen Zhao's smile suddenly turned cruel. Someone dares to frame you, Boss Chen? Not before, but this time there really is. Suddenly, Morocco's expression turned very ugly. Boss Chen, are you going out soon? Yes, tomorrow. Morocco became anxious. Then, what if the white nightmare comes to find me again tonight? Chen Zhao glanced at Morocco. To be honest, in the past, Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't care about someone like Morocco. However, people's thinking would change when they were in a different environment. Chen Zhao now felt that Morocco wasn't that bad. You only robbed a few $100s. You'll only be locked up for a few days, right? I'll bail you out, Chen Zhao said. No, I also hurt someone. I'll probably be locked up for half a year, Morocco said with a sad face. Didn't you come here to deliver the goods? Why did you hurt someone? I robbed and hurt someone. Then a local leader found me and told me to deliver a batch of goods. Earn $10,000 and get locked up for half a year? I really don't know what you're thinking. Chun Zhao shook his head. Tell me, how much money do you need to bail you out? Probably more than $50,000. Chun Zhao thought for a moment and said, I can lend you money, but you have to return me the bail money after you go to court. For Chun Zhao in Morocco, this was a temporary prison. After being sentenced in court, they would most likely be transferred to another prison. America's crime rate had always been high. It also had the most prisoners in the world. There were more than 4 million prisoners, so there were also many prisons. There were more than 30 prisons in Los Angeles alone. Usually, the bigger the city, the more people there were and the more criminals there were. Of course, there were more prisons too. Unless Morocco's luck was extremely bad, he would not be assigned here again. Usually, the judicial system would randomly assign prisoners to prisons. Unless it was a military prison or a special prison, most prisons would be assigned to those with more empty rooms. Morocco had been to prison 6 times before. 2 of them had been to this prison. If his luck was really that bad, Chun Zhao couldn't do anything about it. Chun Zhao had already done his best to help him pay the bail money. If he came here again, Chun Zhao wouldn't go to prison to protect him. Also, the White Nightmare was hard to deal with. It wasn't that she was strong, but that she was slippery and hard to catch. Hey, that big guy over there. Come here. Chun Zhao saw the big guy he'd beaten up yesterday and waved. The big guy didn't dodge anymore. He ran to Chun Zhao's side. Boss Chun, what's up? Are there any gay men in your underlings? Boss Chun, do you like gay men? The big guy asked, surprised. Chapter 1253. The big guy immediately understood. He didn't have to say it out loud. Plus, it wasn't his first time taking on something like this. In prison, those with power would be respected. It was the law of the jungle in prison. Either they could fight, like Chun Zhao. Either that, or he had a powerful background to begin with. Chun Zhao had only been in prison for less than 2 days. However, Chun Zhao had already gotten to know 2 people who were very influential in the outside world. Of course, they were both in the underworld. They weren't friends, but they still got to know each other. This was mutual respect. If you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. Occasionally, when they were out, they would throw a cigarette over. Usually, the gangsters who came from the outside wouldn't bully newcomers like the big guy. They had their own enemies, which were usually the bosses of rival gangs. In this prison with a few hundred people, there were more than a dozen gangs. They were either allies or enemies, so they wouldn't offend others for no reason. There were also 2 or 3 gangsters who came to get close to Chun Zhao and ask about his background. Because of what happened last night, Enro was already scared out of his wits. He didn't expect the people who captured him to be Chun Zhao's subordinates. At first, he thought that Chun Zhao was rich, but Chun Zhao was a foreigner. So, Chun Zhao wouldn't have any power. He didn't expect that none of Chun Zhao's subordinates were normal. All of them were as scary as demons. If he didn't give himself up, they'd eat him alive. Enro wanted to cry, but had no tears. Sitting in the escort car, he was at a loss for what to do. After arriving at the prison, he went through the procedures and also had a physical and drug test. Enro was brought into the cell by the prison guard. Go in. You'll live in this room. Enro entered the room and saw the person he didn't want to see the most in his life. Why are you here? Why am I here? Chun Zhao found it funny. Why are you surprised? Why am I here? Morocco looked at Enro fiercely. Enro was the one who made a throat-cutting gesture. Mr. Chun, I'm sorry. It was my fault earlier. Please forgive me. Forgive you? Why should I forgive you? Chun Zhao sneered. If you want to use this method to make me spend 10 years in prison, then I'll make you die here. Enro was about to piss his pants. Chun Zhao was even more evil than he'd imagined. Even if you don't die in prison, I guarantee that you will die on the first day you walk out of prison. Chun Zhao really wanted to kill. He had seen all kinds of demons and ghosts, but this time he almost fell into the hands of a swindler. How could he let the matter rest? Enro was so scared that his face turned pale. Take off your pants first. Morocco grinned at Inro. Inro subconsciously covered his butt. You? What are you doing? Inro's tragedy was only the beginning. Chun Zhao was very vengeful. At noon, Big Guy took the lead and came looking for trouble. In the face of a few burly men, Inro could only obediently endure. But at dinner time, the Big Guy came looking for trouble again. After that, they went to the bathhouse to take a shower. Inro's tragedy had only just begun. In the past, Chun Zhao hated things like rape, but he didn't have any sympathy for Inro at all. In the past, Inro specialized in cheating money from women. Moreover, it wasn't just a little bit of money, but all the money of others. He even made women owe huge sums of money and then disappear from the world. Chun Zhao really couldn't feel sympathy for such a person. Chun Zhao watched as Inro covered his butt and went back to his cell with a pained expression. He felt great. Morocco smiled knowingly and also looked at Inro with evil intentions. But when the lights went out, Morocco couldn't smile anymore. It was another sleepless night. The next day, Morocco and Chun Zhao were released together. However, Chun Zhao was released without charge, while Morocco was released on bail. When he went to court, he still had to go to prison. After leaving the prison, Morocco looked at Chun Zhao. Boss Chun, where are you going next? Someone's coming to pick me up. I'm leaving first. Remember, you have to pay me the bail money. Klaus' car was parked nearby. Morocco saw that Chun Zhao had a special car to pick him up, and the person who picked him up didn't look like an ordinary person. Although Morocco himself was an unemployed person with a lot of criminal records, Morocco still had some foresight. He could tell that the person who picked Chun Zhao up was probably a retired soldier. And from their attitude, that person should be Chun Zhao's bodyguard. Is Lingam in the headquarters now? Yes. Klaus nodded. Good. Then let's go to the headquarters. Klaus saw Chun Zhao's murderous expression. It was better not to talk to Chun Zhao now. When they reached the headquarters, the members all stopped what they were doing and came out to greet Chun Zhao when they heard that he was back. Bring that asterisk shoal out. Lingam had already been dragged out by Klaus. Lingam was unharmed. It wasn't because the members of the association were soft-hearted. It was because Lingam was waiting for Chun Zhao's punishment. Oh, it's you. Chun Zhao remembered that this man had bumped into his shoulder before entering the bar that day. Lingam's face was pale. If he knew that Chun Zhao had so many scary people under his control, he wouldn't have offended Chun Zhao. It was only $50,000. He had to face such a scary group of people for $50,000. Mr. Chun, how do you want to die? Chun Zhao asked. Lingam's face turned even paler, and he trembled all over. Just then, dark clouds gathered in the sky above the headquarters. Everyone jumped in fright and immediately backed away from Lingam. Lingam didn't know what had happened, but the dark clouds above the headquarters made him feel very pressured. The clouds started turning into thunderstorm clouds. Rumbling sounds rose and fell. Choose. Be struck by lightning, eaten by demons, ground into pieces by a meat grinder, or I'll throw you into the sky. No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Don't want to die. That's not up to you. Chun Zhao stared coldly at Lingam. Hurry up and decide. I can pledge my loyalty to you. I can do many things for you. I don't need it. Chun Zhao rejected Lingam's request without hesitation. Chun Zhao pointed at the sky. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and hit his finger. Chapter 1254. Chun Zhao pointed at Lingam, lightning flashing on his fingertips. Lingam trembled like a sieve. Wait! Lingam finally yelled, I'll trade something for my life, what? The Devil's Grimoire, Lingam exclaimed. The Devil's Grimoire passed down through my family. What? President, the Demon Bible is a magic book that borrows demonic power, but it doesn't record it. Instead, it records all kinds of methods to borrow demonic power, a list said. In the Dark Age, many royals and nobles were related to demons. Some of the families that have survived to this day have the Demon Bible. Oh, are there many Demon Bible? Not many, but it's not unique, Alyss answered. Where's it? Take it out. It's not with me. It's in my family. Lingam looked at Chun Zhao in fear. I can give it to you. No need. Ask your family to bring it. Don't tell me you can't take it out without it, Chen Zhao said. There's nothing that can't be explained with a phone call. If there is, then 2 calls. Lingam lowered his head, his eyes flickering. Okay, I'll call. Give him his number, Chen Zhao said. Lingam held the phone and dialed a number. Grandpa, it's me. What's up? A stern voice came from the other end. Grandpa, I did something wrong and was detained by the supernatural organization. They want me to trade the demon Bible for me. Okay, give me the address. Lingam's grandfather didn't refuse or agree. Instead, he asked for the address. However, Lingam could hear the anger in that calm tone. His family wasn't powerful. After all, the ability to change one's appearance couldn't bring them actual power. Lingam's father was the leader of the family, but his power was average. Lingam's grandfather, Offit, was different. Offit was the owner of the demonic grimoire and the only one in the family who could use the contents of the demonic grimoire. Also, Offit controlled a terrifying organization. Lingam had been afraid of his grandfather since he was young. It wasn't just him. Although Offit wasn't the leader, he was better than him. Even his father acted like a grandson in front of Offit. My grandpa wants the address. Lingam looked at Chen Zhao. Give me the phone. Chen Zhao took the phone. Hello, sir. How are you? Who are you in the supernatural organization? Guild leader. The Lin family changed into my appearance and killed people on the street. I wanted to kill him, but he said that you have some demon Bible. So, either you use the demon Bible to exchange for his life, or I'll chop him up and feed him to the dogs. That's right, Chen Zhao said. Address. Chen Zhao could tell that the old man's tone was rather unfriendly, but he didn't care. If this old man wanted to use force, he would let him reunite with his grandson. After Offit hung up the phone, she nodded. Supernatural organization. Offit had heard of the supernatural organization before. But in the supernatural world, the supernatural organization had never had a strong presence. Offit picked up the phone and dialed a number. Rooney, gather everyone and come to me. It didn't take long for Offit's subordinates to assemble. Boss Offit, is there another mission? Boss Offit, we've been idle for half a year. Where are we going this time? I hope it's Egypt. Last time we failed. This time, after half a year of preparation, we definitely won't fail. I'm ready too. Plus, I've become much more powerful. We definitely won't fail. Offit's subordinates yelled at the same time. Okay, quiet down. Offit interrupted them. We still need some time to prepare for the Egypt mission. This time it's something else. Nicole, you know the supernatural organization, right? Offit looked at a woman in a black dress. She was tall and wore rimless glasses, holding a book. The supernatural organization. Nicole pushed up her glasses. Yes, it's an international organization. Currently, there are 13 members in the world. They're China, America, Japan, England. I want to know more about the supernatural organization of America. Boss, the organization is very weak. It was founded in 1990 and has been around for 29 years. It's supported by the anti-terrorism department. They've changed their president many times, but because the members are too weak, the president left and abandoned the organization in the end. President, does our mission have anything to do with the organization? They kidnapped my grandson, Offit said. They want me to hand over the demon Bible in exchange for my grandson. What? Are they crazy? God, do they know what they're doing? Offending Boss Offit? I don't understand what they're thinking. Boss Offit, let me go. I'll bring your grandson back in one piece. No, I'll bring my grandson back personally, Offit said coldly. Offit said coldly. Perhaps it's because I rarely move around the country that the spiritual world in the country doesn't know about me. Perhaps I need to use this operation to prove my existence to the spiritual world in the country. Yo, Boss Offit is angry. So scary. Boss Offit rarely shows such an expression. Pray for the organization. I hope they won't collapse. Where are they now? I can't wait to see their expressions when they see us. L. Hey, great, we can go to L.A. now. Everyone was very relaxed. To them, this was just a vacation. Boss Offit, do you need a divination? A woman holding a crystal ball asked. Let's do it. Holding the crystal ball, the woman chanted. Suddenly, the crystal ball cracked. As if shocked by electricity, the woman hurriedly stopped. What happened? Damn it, I just bought this from a magic shop. That shop sold me low-quality goods. I'm going to smash it. Forget it, Offit said. No need for divination after we return from L.A. I'll buy one for you. Okay, Boss Offit, should we go now? I still have some unfinished medicine in my lab, a blue-haired woman with a colorful face said. Chapter 1255. It's up ahead. There were 9 people in the group, driving 4 cars, lined up in a straight line. Offit had been resting with her eyes closed. Hearing her subordinate's words, she opened her eyes. Seeing the building ahead, she said coolly, "Smash the metal gate open." Aduz, who was guarding the gate, had already stood up when he saw the 4 cars. He was about to open the gate, but he didn't expect the car at the front to ram in. He was already standing behind the gate. When the car crashed into him, he couldn't dodge in time. The metal door was knocked down, and Aduz, who was behind the metal door, was crushed under it. Aduz's screams reached the headquarters, and when the people there heard it, they immediately rushed out. A few evil spirits had been wandering nearby, but when they heard Aduz's screams, they immediately rushed over. But before the evil spirits could save Aduz, a red light swept past. The evil spirits had been turned to dust. This scene was witnessed by West, who had just come out. He saw 9 people get out of the 4 cars. The leader was a tall old man with a white beard. "Who are you?" West yelled. "Luo Du go." Luo Du immediately charged at West. Luo Du's poison was very fast. Seeing that he was going to attack him without any explanation, West hurriedly used slow field. In an instant, Luo Du's movement stopped, and he stood still on the spot. "Oh, what spell is this?" "Who are you?" West asked again. "You call me here. Why are you asking me who I am?" Offit looked coldly at West. Just then, Pamela arrived as well. Seeing the enemy invade, Pamela dove down from the sky toward Luo Du. Nicole immediately flipped the book in her hand. A few evil souls rushed out of the book and attacked Pamela. Pamela saw the vile souls approaching. She turned around and let out a shrill scream. In the blink of an eye, those vile souls were destroyed. So strong. This evil spirit is so strong. Nicole's eyes were filled with wariness. Pamela burrowed into Luo Du's body. Luo Du and Pamela immediately fought for control of the body. But soon, Luo Du lost control of his body. Crack, crack. Pamela controlled Rhoda's body. His bones made crisp sounds. "Mr. West, who are they?" West heaved a long sigh. "I don't know. Hurry up and save Aduz." Offit and the others frowned. What was up with this evil spirit? She had actually taken control of Luo Du's body. One must know that Luo Du was a spiritualist. Although he wasn't very strong, how could a spiritualist be controlled by an evil spirit so easily? Pamela controlled Rhoda's body. It wasn't her body anyway, so she didn't care if it would be hurt. The Banshee's aura began to spread throughout Luo Du's body. Luo Du's face turned pale, and his pupils turned white. At this time, more and more people came out of the headquarters. "Mr. West, Miss Pamela, what happened? Was Aduz attacked by them? Who are they?" "I don't know who they are, but they attacked our headquarters first," West said. "Save Aduz first. I'll call the chairman." "Baka, I will kill them all. Anyone who dares to offend us will be killed." Donya Tianchi yelled, sword in hand. "Old man, you go attract their attention. I'll go save Aduz," Kira said. "Okay, kill." Donya Tianchi immediately rushed toward Offit and the others. Offit rubbed his nose. He didn't need to do anything. Behind him, Antaeus had already turned into a 4-meter-tall giant and punched at Donya Tianchi. Seeing Antaeus attack, Donya Tianchi raised his sword and slashed at Antaeus. The sword hit Antaeus' fist, but there was only the sound of metal and sparks. Antaeus' fist was unharmed. Antaeus increased his strength, and Donya Tianchi was sent flying. But Donya Tianchi didn't fall to the ground. After being knocked back a dozen meters, he actually managed to dissipate the force and landed steadily. "Antaeus, we're not here to kill, so don't be too heavy-handed," Offit said with a smile. "Boss Offit, I can't control my power. Antaeus' voice was majestic, and there was a hint of arrogance in his tone. Antaeus was just like Antaeus, the son of the earth in Greek mythology. As long as his feet were in contact with the ground, he would never feel tired. The earth could bestow him with endless power. At that moment, Gitkira had already circled around from the side. She didn't plan to fight. She only wanted to save Aduz, who was under the iron door. But Antaeus didn't plan to let Gitkira succeed. Antaeus punched at Gitkira. Gitkira quickly raised his hammer to meet the attack. Bang! Gitkira was also sent flying. She was in a much worse state than Donya Tianchi. Donya Tianchi knew how to dissipate the force, but Gitkira only knew how to meet force with force. With a single blow, he was sent flying 30 meters away, hitting the outer wall of the headquarters. How dare you cause trouble in the association? Kill! Harris's voice rang out. Then, the lake in the distance began to churn. One by one, skeleton soldiers emerged from the lake. Harris's undead creatures were all hidden in the water. Because the headquarters wasn't suitable to store these undead creatures, she usually hid them in the lake. Black Witch. Offit raised an eyebrow. Nicole also frowned. This girl who came out from the back was very powerful. It seemed like this supernatural association wasn't as weak as the rumors said. A large number of skeleton soldiers charged at Offit and the others. At that moment, a flash of fire descended from the sky. Boom! A violent explosion rippled out. The expressions of Offit and the others changed again. Such powerful magic. Gaia had rushed back from the set. When she heard that the association had been invaded, she immediately stopped what she was doing. Gaia walked out of the flames step by step. When she saw Aduz, who was pinned under the iron door, Gaia's expression instantly turned furious. This cute little old man was their association's mascot. Gaia raised the tip of her sword and charged at him. Antaeus punched Gaia again. Gaia swept her sword. This time, it was Antaeus who was forced back, while Gaia was unstoppable. Gaia was about to lift the iron door to save Aduz. Suddenly, a force came at Gaia and sent her flying. Although the force was very powerful, Gaia wasn't hurt. Beside Offit was a long-haired woman. Her body was light as she floated slightly in the air. A strong cyclone surrounded her. Trying to save him? The long-haired woman looked at them with contempt. Chapter 1256. The long-haired woman didn't use wind magic, but a bloodline ability. She could control the wind, and it danced with her. Suddenly, a cold light cut through the air. Oh no! The long-haired woman's expression changed drastically. She immediately controlled the wind element and turned it into a chaotic airflow. But the cold light seemed to have eyes and accurately passed through the chaotic airflow. It pierced through the long-haired woman's chest. She grunted and vomited blood. There was an arrow in her shoulder. The long-haired woman looked up and saw a leopard-shaped figure holding a longbow on the rooftop. Just then, Gila's skeleton army had arrived and was charging it off its group. These skeleton soldiers were very weak. Even Gitkira could kill one with one punch, let alone Antaeus. However, they weren't really that weak. Even if they were smashed, they could still reassemble. Also, the reassembly form wasn't like human skeletons. They could take any shape, like beasts or even dragons. Gilas didn't use her brothers and sisters. She didn't let them get too close to Aduz. She didn't want to hurt Aduz by accident. Klaus and the others did the same. They didn't show themselves, but they had already taken the high ground. As long as they found a chance, they would attack Offit's group. After Gaia was sent flying, she charged forward again. But this time, she turned into a fire dragon. Offit and his subordinates' expressions changed when they saw Gaia's fire dragon form. Gaia lay on Antaeus' body. The hot flames made Antaeus howl. Offit was finally moved. The supernatural organization was stronger than he'd imagined. He couldn't keep watching. Offit chanted and turned into a werewolf. This was his first form. He borrowed the power of the Hell Wolf. Seeing Gaia and Antaeus fighting, he was about to attack Gaia. Suddenly, a murderous intent approached. Whoosh! Offit immediately took a step back. A bowl-sized hole appeared on the ground beside him. Sniper. Offit's face darkened. Is everyone in the supernatural organization sneaky like this? West looked at Offit from afar. You said we sneak attacked? In that case, isn't it a sneak attack when you sneak attacked our association? You kidnapped my grandson. So, you're that idiot's grandfather. As expected, like grandson, like family. West glanced at Aduz. Aduz's situation wasn't looking good. He could not drag this on any longer. West walked forward. Field of sluggishness. Everyone who was enveloped by his field of sluggishness stopped moving. Gakula, go and save them. Offit wanted to move, but he felt as if his body had been filled with cement. It was difficult for him to move. Offit sensed that the sniper was aiming at him. Offit immediately activated his second demon form, the immortal golem. In an instant, Offit's body turned into stone. At the same time, his power increased. Wester immediately felt a huge force being exerted on him. The mana consumption of the slow field was several times higher than before. Gakira had already rescued Aduz while Offit and the others were frozen. But at this moment, West's slow domain finally collapsed. Offit grabbed West and choked him. Now, do you have any other spells? It's meaningless for you to win, Wester said nonchalantly. At the same time, he looked up at the sky. You're already in my hands. Do you think it's meaningless? In your hands? You don't seem to understand. I'm not in your hands. You're the one who broke into hell, the Demon King's territory. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky started to gather. Lightning flashed, and thunder roared in the rolling clouds. Gaia suddenly retreated from the battlefield. At this moment, the members of the association also retreated a certain distance. Suddenly, 8 bolts of lightning shot out from the sky and pierced through Offit and his subordinates. The stone on Offit's body collapsed instantly. Wester landed on the ground and adjusted his collar nonchalantly. Offit and his subordinates all clutched their chests and half knelt on the ground in pain. Although the lightning just now wasn't fatal, it still brought them great pain. And Ty's body was the strongest, and he was the first to recover. Offit and the others felt a terrifying, murderous intent behind them. Antaeus, behind you. Antaeus turned and saw a man standing at the gate. With a roar, Antaeus charged at the man. Hiss! Under everyone's gaze, Antaeus was forcefully torn in half. Flesh, blood, and organs splattered everywhere. The man didn't feel like he was tearing apart a person or a giant, but a piece of roasted rabbit meat. Antaeus! The long-haired woman screamed. Antaeus was her husband, but he was killed right in front of her. Instantly, the long-haired woman sank into madness. I'm going to kill you. Boom! A terrifying bolt of lightning fell from the sky and landed on the long-haired woman's head. Ah! The long-haired woman was scorched. Her carbonized body fell to the ground. Who's the leader? Chen Zhao's cold gaze swept across Offit and the others. Offit's expression changed. She chanted a spell. King Kong Demon. Offit's body started to change shape. His skin started to be covered in metal. The dark lava turned into a blade and sliced across the ground. Offit suddenly felt danger and tried his best to move away. But he wasn't faster than the blade in the end. One of his arms was chopped off. Chen Zhao stood at the gate and saw Aduz, who was being carried by Genicla. This infuriated Chen Zhao. The dark lava seemed to boil and spread under Offit and the others' feet. Everyone felt like their feet were about to be scorched. They wanted to escape the dark magma-covered ground, but their feet were firmly fixed in place. Everyone was screaming miserably, regardless of whether they were men or women. All of them were enduring endless pain. Rooney was the first to fall to the ground. A large part of his body came into contact with the dark magma. The dark magma stuck to his skin. Rooney struggled to get up under the intense pain, but his skin couldn't get up with him. Half of his body's skin was torn. Within the dark magma, dark Bastille appeared and devoured the corpse. Everyone sank into despair. Who are you? Offit cried out in pain. You came to my territory and asked who I am. West was only one step away from Offit, but he wasn't affected. The dark lava was less than a meter before him. Chapter 12:57. Offit struggled to pull his feet out of the dark lava. By now, the skin on his feet had already peeled off due to the high temperature. The pain was indescribable, but he still endured the pain and let out a low growl. Boss Offit is going to use that move. Damn, we're too close. We'll be affected. Offit's subordinates wanted to escape, but their feet were all tied up. They couldn't move at all. Offit raised his arms. His limbs were growing longer, and his body was growing larger. He turned into a demon and started breathing. His stomach bulged as he inhaled. Offit's subordinates all covered their ears. Roar! Instantly, Offit released all the air in one breath. It was like the lion's roar in wuxia novels. Offit's subordinates were too close. It wasn't a direct attack, but they still spat out blood. Their mouths, noses, and ears were bleeding from Offit's roar. The surging sound waves crashed into Chun Zhao as if they were solid. But Chun Zhao still didn't move. The sound waves could indeed form an impact. But to Chun Zhao, it was just a slightly stronger wind. Offit's roar lasted for 10 seconds before it finally stopped. The cement at the entrance of the headquarters was also lifted. Only Chun Zhao remained where he was. Offit and his subordinates all stared at Chun Zhao, dumbfounded. Even such terrifying power couldn't defeat that person. Offit was known as the King of Lions in the international supernatural world. He'd never lost before. But now, an unknown supernatural organization had defeated them. This made everyone feel that this was unreal. Suddenly, another bolt of lightning fell and pierced through Offit. Offit spat out green smoke and fell to the ground. Chun Zhao frowned. Lightning Storm's single-target attack was indeed weak. It couldn't kill a single person. He'd already used his full strength, but the power was still limited. Whatever. Killing them like this would be too easy on them. After Chun Zhao arrived, everyone retreated from the center of the battlefield. They didn't want to be affected by Chun Zhao. Even if Chun Zhao avoided them, they were still afraid that he wouldn't control himself and would be affected. To be honest, they didn't know where this group of people got their courage from. Even if Chun Zhao didn't appear, they were confident that they could keep all of them here. The reason why they had been suppressing their attacks was not because their strength was limited to this. This was because Aduz was still by their side, and the people from the association were afraid that Aduz would be implicated. Rhoda's body was controlled by Pamela. After Chun Zhao arrived, he killed 3 more. Now, there were 5 people left. 5 people were dragged into the hall and thrown on the ground. When they came, they were arrogant and didn't care about the supernatural organization at all. However, after arriving here, they suddenly realized that the situation was more troublesome than they had imagined. Especially after Chun Zhao's arrival, the situation that could barely be maintained instantly fell apart. Chun Zhao sat in the middle while West and the others sat in rows. It was like an old master attending a court in ancient times. How is Aduz? It's quite serious, but it's stable for now. Gaia will drive Aduz to the hospital now. Yes. Chun Zhao nodded. Who are they? President. He's Lingham's grandfather. He's probably here to steal Lingham. Offit and the others all lowered their heads. It was too pitiful. They had lost too miserably, and the other party didn't even know who they were or why they were here. Bring Lingham out and shove him and his grandson into a meat grinder. How dare you? Offit glared at Chun Zhao, gritting her teeth. Chun Zhao's gaze was cold as he looked at Offit casually. Are you going to use your power to threaten me? Or your family? That's fine. Tell me, and I'll be happy to slaughter your family. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao. They had completely different thoughts. Actually, West and the others all knew that Chun Zhao never attacked the innocent. But right now, he needed to have an imposing manner. You might not know, but our president just slaughtered a few hundred people in San Diego half a month ago. Haven't you heard about the gang massacre? Offit and her subordinates couldn't help but shiver. That incident was so huge that even the spirit world was in a state of panic at the slightest sound. Many people believed that it was done by people from the spirit world, including those from the spirit world themselves. Now they finally understood who they were going against. This man was a butcher, a demon king. Offit had indeed wanted to use his family to threaten Chun Zhao. But now, he really didn't dare to mention his family. If he were to find out about this, his family would most likely be killed as well. This man was a demon. You're a righteous organization. How can you do this? Oh, right, we're a righteous organization. Chen Zhao turned his head and looked at West. In what name should we take revenge? West rolled his eyes. President, we're a righteous organization, but that doesn't mean we'll let people bully us. They're already at our doorstep. We can't just swallow it, right? So, our revenge is open and reasonable. There was no absolute justice in this world. Only the victor could decide who was righteous. See, we're righteous, but we have a good reason too. I'll give you the book of the demon, Offit finally said after making up her mind. That's not enough. Your grandson, Lingam, offended me. He was the one who promised to give me the devil grimoire, and you guys ambushed our headquarters and injured our people, causing huge losses to our organization. You can't possibly think that we can let this go so easily, right? You killed our people too. I shouldn't have killed them. Shun Zhao's eyes widened. His anger that had just subsided was ignited again. We can compensate your headquarters and the injured people. Shun Zhao rubbed his chin and considered. Should he kill them now or compensate them? Shun Zhao turned to West. West thought for a moment. Compared to Chen Zhao's anger, West was much calmer. He didn't want to kill them all. In fact, Chen Zhao didn't want to kill them all. That was why he wanted West to think of a plan that could let him vent and compensate the organization's losses. Chapter 12:58. Chen Zhao didn't have to do anything. He just had to smile. But in Offit's eyes, Chen Zhao's smile was a butcher's. When Offit and the others were sent to prison, Lingam thought that they were here to save him. In the end, they were locked in the dungeon by Klaus and the others. Lingam was dumbfounded. In a way, the grandfather and grandson were reunited. Grandpa, Offit was furious when she saw Lingam. Ignoring the pain on her body, she lifted her leg and kicked Lingam. You Asterisk Shoal, how much trouble did you get me into? Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Lingam wanted to cry. Offit's other subordinates, including the unconscious Rodu, were locked in the next cell. Separated by a man and a woman, they were all weak and had their heads lowered. Klaus knocked on the bars. Name, ability, and magic element. Offit, black magic, Offit said with her head lowered. She specializes in borrowing demonic power. After recording for Offit, Klaus went to the next room. There were 3 women in the next room. Name, Klaus said. Nicole Givel. Fustaduya. More Raz. Ability, Klaus said. My power mainly originates from my Book of Holy Spirit. Sealed within the Book of Holy Spirit are countless walkers and ability users. Whenever I need it, I will flip through the corresponding Book of Holy Spirit and borrow the power of the walkers and ability users within, said Nicole. The Book of the Holy Spirit was also the Association's spoils of war. It was now in the Association's hands. However, only she could use the book. Even if she told others about the book's ability, she wasn't afraid that someone would take it away. I'm a fortune teller, Fusta said. I'm a healer and pharmacist, Moraz said. Healer? What healing spells do you know? Klaus was instantly energized. He knew that West and Chun Zhao had been looking for a healer to join them. He didn't expect that there would be a healer among the captives. Moraz had been frightened tonight. In the past, she'd always been a support. Her companions had protected her well. But who would have thought that what everyone thought was just a vacation would turn into a disaster? I know injury suppression, rapid injury recovery, deferred execution, and holy light glory. These are the main 4 spells. Right now, I'm really practicing purification. What do? Injury suppression can temporarily suppress extremely heavy injuries and reduce the pain. Rapid injury recovery can be used for lighter injuries and can be healed in a short period of time. Deferred execution can be used to delay the death of a person who is on the verge of death. Holy light glory can restore everyone's mana. However, this magic can only be used once a year. This is a magic passed down in my family. Molraz paused and said, Purification can remove most poisons, diseases, and curses. Hold on. Klaus put away his notebook and ran upstairs with quick steps. President, among those people, there is a woman who is a healer. This is her magic. Take a look. Chun Zhao and West were still talking. Hearing West's words, they perked up. Chun Zhao and West went into the dungeon. Seeing Chun Zhao and West, More Raz and the others could not help but panic. What's your name? More Raz. Miss Moore, how about joining us? Chun Zhao could not be bothered to beat around the bush. He went straight to the point and stated his request. More Raz's expression was resistant and his eyes were filled with fear. Definitely don't join them. Especially this butcher. He killed my friend. You don't want to? Chun Zhao looked at More Raz indifferently. Kill them all. Everyone in the cell tensed up and looked at Chun Zhao in fear. How can you do this? That's how I am, Chun Zhao said calmly. How about this? West said, if you join us, we'll reduce their punishment. Of course. How much will depend on your performance? What do you think? More Raz was about to speak when West interrupted him. Stop bargaining. Our president doesn't have a good temper. Anyway, Chun Zhao was the bad guy and West was the good guy. Chun Zhao did not mind being the bad guy. More, listen to them, Nicole said. After all, she did not want to die. None of them wanted to die. To be honest, she was a bit envious of More. At least More had value, but she could only be locked up here. She could not even control her own fate. More Raz was brought out. Although she still hated Chun Zhao and the supernatural organization, she didn't care. But more than that, she was afraid. Then West arranged a place for More Raz. You'll live in this room from now on. If you don't listen, our president will definitely take it out on your friend. If you run away, the consequences will be even worse. Do you see the meat grinder below? It's specially prepared for traitors. How long do I have to serve you? Until the president thinks it's enough, or until someone can replace you, West said. You know that healers are rare. Don't try to challenge our president. Don't look for trouble. If there's an operation, try to participate. If there's no operation, try not to run around. You must listen to the president. You're all scared of that tyrant, right? We can fight against him together. You're all very strong. Together with our boss, we can suppress that tyrant together. We're not being oppressed. Why should we fight against our president? West rolled his eyes. You should be more obedient. Our president is undefeatable. More Raz felt that they must be afraid of Chun Zhao and did not dare to speak the truth before him. A butcher and demon would not have anyone following him. Never challenge our president's bottom line. Don't do it for your own safety or your friends. When Chun Zhao returned home, Fei Lai was swimming in the lake. Fei Lai was already 6 months pregnant, but she still insisted on swimming for 20 minutes every day. However, her stamina was getting worse and worse. She could not even swim as long as Jerlin. Chun Zhao had considered not going out again after this trip to Nanchi Island. In the future, Chun Zhao planned to stay by Fei Lai's side until she gave birth. Just then, Yuret's call came. Chapter 1259. Chun Zhao drove a yacht out to sea. He didn't want to get seasick like last time. Even with Chun Zhao's current abilities, he couldn't avoid this physiological reaction. Although the golden key could change one's adaptability to the environment, it would only work when Chun Zhao was in life-threatening danger. Moreover, physiological reactions had many unstable factors. It was just like pain. Many spiritualists would block off their sense of pain so that they could unleash greater strength in battle. But in fact, pain was also the body's alarm system. Without pain nerves, there would be unpredictable consequences. Thus, Chun Zhao wouldn't use unconventional methods to avoid seasickness. Anyway, Chun Zhao had made up his mind that as long as he went out to sea, he wouldn't take those long-distance boats. The stress on long-distance boats and yachts was different. Chun Zhao hated that feeling. He hated the feeling of being dizzy. If he was injured, he could still persevere with his willpower. However, there was nothing he could do about seasickness. His reactions would also slow down due to seasickness. After setting up the navigation, Chun Zhao was free. He lay on the deck and sunbathed. Just then, Yuret called again. Hey Chun, have you left yet? Yes. I'll reach Hawaii in the morning. They'd agreed to meet up in Hawaii. So Chun Zhao set up the navigation to Hawaii too. Didn't you fly over? No, I took my own yacht. Chun Zhao said. You're going to explore and search for treasures with the yacht? Is there a problem? The yacht can't go deep into the sea, right? Unless you fill the cabin with fuel. Don't worry about that. I have my own plans since I'm driving the yacht. Fine. As long as your yacht doesn't break down halfway, I don't care, Guret said. The sea route is rather long this time, so we don't have much fuel. Don't expect me to give you my boat's fuel. If your yacht runs out of fuel, you'll have to abandon it in the deep sea. I don't lack fuel, Chun Zhao said, unconcerned. Fine. After hanging up, Chun Zhao continued to enjoy the scenery at sea. He jumped into the sea to swim or dive into the deep sea. There were too many things he could do to kill time. At noon, Chun Zhao caught a giant clam in the water. It was 80 centimeters long and weighed more than 150 kilograms. Of course, this was also the location that Amon had sent him. Such a giant toad might not even be found within a radius of dozens of square kilometers. Giant toads were also known as giant clams. Giant toads had a very long lifespan. The oldest giant toad discovered so far was more than 300 years old. Wild giant toads had an average lifespan of more than 100 years. Therefore, the giant toad could grow very big. Wild giant toads were an endangered species, but harvesting them was not prohibited. Currently, only the harvesting of young toads was prohibited, and harvesting giant toads required some special documents. It was not a fishing permit issued by the National Bureau of Fisheries, but a giant toad fishing permit issued by the International Animal Protection Organization. Moreover, it was not given to fishing companies, but to some small island countries. Technically, it was illegal for Chun Zhao to catch the giant toad. Chun Zhao didn't care. The age of this giant toad was estimated to be over 80 years old. The older the giant toad, the more tender its meat was. The best way to eat it is to eat it raw. Mustard is the best dipping sauce. Of course, everyone had their own taste, but Chun Zhao still preferred wasabi. Once it was frozen, however, it could not be eaten raw. Only fresh giant toads could be eaten raw if the meat was directly cut off from the top. If it was frozen and stored, it could only be used for cooking. Among them, barbecuing and making soup were the best. Chun Zhao finished all the toad meat in one meal and threw the clamshell back into the sea. Generally speaking, most seafood could be eaten raw, but most freshwater products could not be eaten. It was not just because of the taste. The main reason was that there were fewer parasites in seafood. Even if there were parasites, most could not survive in the human body. Freshwater parasites, on the other hand, could mostly survive in the human body. On the Pacific Ocean, 2 exploration ships moved forward in a row. The large one had a displacement of 9,000 tons. It was called Wild Bull. The other only had a displacement of 4,000 tons. It was called Seagull. Hi, you're Prague, right? Yes, Mr. Rick. I'm Prague. How do you feel about the sea? Not bad, Prague said, smiling. Where are we going next? Our plan is to go to the Suomessa Triangle Sea. The Suomessa Triangle Sea? Is there such a sea? Prague asked, confused. Oh, you're not in the archaeological world, so it's normal that you don't know about this sea. The Suomessa Triangle Sea is a special term for archaeology. It's actually 1,000 nautical miles southwest of the Hawaiian Islands, close to the Solomon Sea and less than 2,000 kilometers from New Guinea. According to the theory of continental plate movement, the Suomessa Triangle Sea is a fragment of Bethmeyer Island. It's a fragment thrown away by the continental plate movement. There are many traces of primitive civilization there, and many islands have unique traces of primitive civilization. That's why the Suomessa Triangle Sea is also the favorite sea area of primitive civilization archaeologists and explorers. Some of the islands even hide mysterious ruins. Both archaeologists and explorers can only find treasures. Will we encounter natives? Some islands in the Suomessa Islands still have natives, but they're modern natives. They're similar to the natives of New Guinea, but the island we're going to doesn't have any natives. Okay, Prague nodded. It's almost dinner time, Rick said. Let's go in and eat. It'll be cold at night on the sea. Okay. After Prague entered the cabin, a crew member came to Rick's side. Mr. Rick, why are you bringing those 2 university students? It'll be very inconvenient for our plan. Because they paid me $5 million, and Peter's father is the sponsor of our expedition team. He gives us $20 million every year, Rick said matter-of-factly. If it were you, would you reject it? Then what about our plan? We can't just bring them to where we're going, right? Chapter 1260. Pete, I'm sorry. I'm afraid the bison can't send you to the Zuomiso Islands. What's wrong? Pete asked, puzzled. Prague also looked at Rick in surprise. The bison has a mechanical problem. The maintenance team has already repaired it, but several parts are seriously damaged. We can only wait for the tugboat to come. We can't go any further. Then what should we do? I paid, and my father gives you $20 million a year. Are you going to be so irresponsible? Pete was the son of a rich family. His tone and attitude were quite arrogant. He had no respect for Rick. To him, not only Rick, but the entire fleet and the entire expedition team were his family. These expedition members, including Rick, were his family's employees. $20 million? Do you know that it costs at least $50 million a year to maintain the expedition and fleet? $20 million? Do you think $20 million can solve all the problems? Rick didn't spoil Pete at all. And do you know how much wealth I bring to your father every year? Young man, you'd better be more respectful. Your father is not a philanthropist, and I'm not your father's subordinate. We're collaborators. Pete's face suddenly became extremely ugly, especially in front of his girlfriend. You said it. When I go back, I'll tell my father to stop working with you. A cold light flashed in Rick's eyes, but it only flashed for a moment before he hid it. The Pete in front of him was still too young. Or maybe his father had protected him too much in the past, so he didn't understand how much trouble his words and actions would bring him. Okay, send them to the Seagull, Rick said indifferently. At the same time, he glanced at his crew. Young Master Peter, please. Wait for me. I'll talk to my father on the satellite phone, Pete said unwillingly. Then Pete and Prague went to the Seagull in a kayak. Mr. Rick, what should we do? That troublesome little guy. Rick looked at the Seagull not far away. Inform the people on the Seagull. If he really wants the satellite phone, kill him. His father's money. We still have a huge gap in our funds. We definitely can't let that brat destroy it. Pete's father knew where Rick's expedition came from, but Pete didn't. Pete really thought that Rick's expedition was just an ordinary expedition. Pete's father was a pure businessman. The reason why he cooperated with Rick was that Rick's expedition could bring him profits. He was not a philanthropist. He was a greedy capitalist. Rick was more of a bandit than an explorer. His subordinates were a group of bandits, although they also carried out some exploration and archaeology. But in fact, their main source of income was not exploration and archaeology, but robbing expeditions and archaeological teams. Of course, they weren't ordinary bandits, because once they made a move, they would always be ruthless and ruthless. They would never leave anyone alive. It was precisely because of his ruthless methods that Rick was able to hide his identity so well. So far, no one in the archaeological exploration circle knew his true identity. He could still rely on his identity as an explorer to obtain information that was only available to those in the circle. For example, where did a certain team go and what good stuff was there? Once Rick had his eyes on a team, he would make meticulous arrangements. Every time Rick snatched something, he would sell it to Pete's father at a lower price. Rick knew the true value of those things, but he was only a bandit, not a businessman. He couldn't sell things for the highest price, but Pete's father could. Compared to his father's sinister nature, Pete was much more foolish. If possible, Rick didn't want to kill Pete. After all, his father wasn't good at picking fights, and Rick didn't want to be enemies with his father. But if Pete wanted to die, Rick wouldn't be lenient. In their line of work, they didn't make a profit for half a year, but once they did, they would eat for half a year. So most of the time, they were short of money. And even if they had money, they wouldn't spend it on maintaining the team. Pete's father was the biggest sponsor of his team. Pete's idea was not wrong. In terms of the amount of funding, his father was indeed the big boss of the expedition team. But Rick wouldn't be someone else's underling. And Pete just boarded the Seagull and began to act like a tyrant again. What a broken ship, Pete said unhappily. And why is Prague and my cabin so small? The Seagull only had a displacement of 4,000 tons, and its natural conditions weren't as good as the Buffalo, which had a displacement of 9,000 tons. Pete, forget it. We're not here for a vacation, Prague advised. Prague advised. She was also quite speechless at Peter's childish temper, especially his attitude towards Rick. Even she felt that it was very inappropriate. You still have the face to speak? It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have to suffer like this. Pete even blamed Prague now. Prague's expression froze, and he looked at Pete with a livid face. I'm going back to Los Angeles. Call your captain over. I really don't understand what I was thinking before. I actually came to the sea to be tortured. Prague gritted his teeth and looked at Pete. He was the one who said that there was an expedition team, and he was the one who could come out and relax. Now he was the one blaming himself. It was as if Prague had met Pete for the first time. Prague was also too young. She thought that when Pete pursued her, he was so passionate and made so many vows of love. She thought that Pete really liked her. She didn't expect that after just 2 days of sea breeze, Pete would show such a face. We will not return, the crew member said in a cold tone. Before Pete and Prague came to the Seagull, Rick had already informed them. If Pete wanted to return or ask for a satellite phone, then he would kill them all and throw them into the sea. Since they had already fallen out, the crew members simply didn't need to pretend anymore. What kind of attitude is this? How dare you speak to me like this? Do you know who my father is? Do you believe that I won't let you die without knowing how? The crew member pulled out a gun from behind and pointed it at Prague and Pete. What are you doing? Don't shoot. Let's talk this out. Peter was terrified. He grabbed Prague's arms and hid behind her. Prague was first frightened by the crew member's actions, but she was even more shocked by Pete's cowardly behavior. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.